TCU is also experiencing a rebirth under its new coach, Dennis Franchione. The Horned Frogs steamroll opponents with a powerful double-engine running attack. Senior Basil Mitchell provides the speed. And sophomore LaDainian Tomlinson the power as TCU completed a 5-game turnaround in 1998. USC and TCU. It's the Northwest Sun Bowl on CBS Sports. What better way to ring in the new year than with a tailgate West Texas style? Nachos and enchiladas are the flavor of the day. And nestled among the Franklin Mountains sits the pride of El Paso, the Sun Bowl. Site of the second oldest bowl game in the nation. Today, it's USC and TCU in the 65th annual Northwest Sun Bowl. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to El Paso. I'm Sean McDonough. It's great to have you with us for this great traditional bowl game. Only the Rose Bowl among the major bowl games has been along longer. And in this matchup this year between USC and TCU, we have two programs. Each had a remarkable turnaround this year, particularly the Horned Frogs of TCU. Last year they were 1-10. This year 6-5, a 5-win improvement. Only Louisville under first-year coach John L. Smith had a greater turnaround among Division I-A schools this year. And it's Dennis Franchione, a first-year coach, who's engineered the turnaround for the Horned Frogs. I'm joined, as always, by Terry Donahue. Coach, Dennis Franchione has engineered remarkable success in 1 year, and he's really done it relying heavily on the running game.
Well, there's no question about it. TCU this afternoon will try to attack USC with two different tailbacks, Basil Mitchell and LaDainian Tomlinson. Mitchell has rushed for over 1,000 yards. Tomlinson has scored 8 touchdowns. And Sean, look for 240 yards today. TCU feels if they can rush for 240 yards, they can beat Southern Cal.
And the Trojans have also had an improvement this year, not as dramatic as TCU's. Last year, USC won 6 games. This year, 8. Under its first-year head coach, Paul Hackett. He inherited from John Robinson the best linebacker in the nation, and Chris Claiborne.
Well, Chris Claiborne is a dominant player on defense. He covers sideline to sideline for USC. He makes tackles all over the field. He also has 6 interceptions on the season, and he's a terrific runner once he intercepts the ball. I look for TCU to have a hard time trying to control Chris Claiborne this afternoon.
And for much of the year on offense, they've been rotating quarterbacks, but now Paul Hackett has settled on the true freshman Carson Palmer. He started the last 4 games of the regular season for USC, and they went 3-1.
Carson Palmer is the future hope of USC football. He's a terrific player, has a big-time arm, and he loves to get the ball to his favorite receiver, R.J. Soward. Soward can go deep on anybody in the country. He's the big play man for USC.
It's the matchup of the abbreviations. USC and TCU in the Sun Bowl from El Paso in a moment.
CBS Sports presentation of the Northwest.
We welcome you back to El Paso, Texas for the Northwest Sun Bowl. USC and TCU getting ready to go head-to-head to close out successful 1998 seasons for both programs. Now let's head down to the field for our national anthem.
So gallantly streaming, and the rockets wriggling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
Gonzalez family with our national anthem. We'll return to El Paso in a moment. These two teams have enjoyed terrific weather all week long here in West Texas, the westernmost tip of the state of Texas, the city of El Paso. And as we approach kickoff, the temperature is 56, expected to get up into the mid 60s, just a light breeze. It is indeed a perfect day for football. And yesterday we had a chance to chat with the two head coaches about their respective seasons and about today's matchup.
To be able to come back, come back to the place that I truly love, and really was the springboard for my coaching career, was in the late 70s here at USC. And to be able to watch it and look at it from a distance for 17 years, and then someone says, hey, you can come back and run the program. I mean, I was thrilled.
I think the biggest thing that I try to do is to, number one, in the first year, change attitudes, change chemistry, the way young men think and approach the game. I can't change them a lot physically the first year, but you can change them a great deal mentally.
Being here is a great opportunity for our young team, partially because we haven't been to a bowl in 2 years, but the other part is the people of El Paso.
We believe we're going to play well, and we believe we can win the football game. Our players believe they're going to win the football game.
They're very good running the football. I mean, I think they're as good as anyone in the country, and I think that the option presents a whole bunch of problems. They run every different kind of option, every different blocking scheme of options. They've got a runner who averages over 6 yards a carry. I mean, I think that's pretty dramatic.
We have faced some good football players down through the season, but he may be as dominant a player and as we have faced.
Chris Claiborne single-handedly elevated the play of our football team, clearly on defense, but he's infectious.
And the enthusiasm of these two head coaches is infectious as well. And here come the Trojans of USC with a record of 8-4. They arrive in El Paso, having won 3 of their last 4. USC with 25 bowl wins all time. Only Alabama has won more bowl games than the Trojans. And here come the Horned Frogs of TCU at 6-5. They had to win their last 2 games of the season to become bowl eligible. Kinds of activity taking place on the field at the moment. Somewhere down there is our friend and colleague Mike Mayock. Mike.
Thank you, Sean. One of the great traditions of college football is the Trojan marching band greets the team after their final practice before each game. Now, traditionally, they pick a prominent player to lead the team in the band in the singing of the school song. Yesterday, the band, after traveling 15 hours, picked junior linebacker Chris Claiborne, who's also the Butkus Award winner, and's got a very important decision to make in the very near future about whether or not to turn pro.
The stars your head, okay? Southern Carolina visitors here.
The band's sentiments are very clear, and I would imagine they would echo precisely those sentiments of head coach Paul Hackett.
TCU wins the toss.
And Paul Hackett says he thinks there's a greater chance now that Chris Claiborne will come back next year than there might have been weeks or months ago. And Chris has said that he'll make that decision next week, wants to concentrate fully on today's game.
Well, I think, Sean, that Chris Claiborne is one of those players that if he comes out, he's going to be probably a top 10 pick. If he stays in, he's going to be an All-American again next year. And so he really can't go wrong with whatever he decides to do. And I just know the people at USC just rave about this guy's work ethic on the practice field. And you heard Coach Hackett talk about how he elevates everybody else's game. And it's true. When you have a player like that, with that kind of enthusiasm, that kind of work ethic, and that kind of ability, all of a sudden your whole defense gets better.
These two schools have played 4 times previously, all 4 of them in Los Angeles, and they have split the 4 right down the middle with 2 wins apiece. The last time they met was in 1977. and USC won 51-0. This will be the first time TCU's played a Pac-10 opponent since 1990 when they lost to Washington State 21-3. There's Carson Palmer, the true freshman quarterback for USC. He'll have the ball first as TCU won the toss and decided to defer. So USC will receive the opening kickoff. Dennis Franchione talking with the officials who were out of the Big East Conference today, led by the referee Dennis Hennigan. Franchione, in his first year at TCU, after 6 seasons at New Mexico, where he also turned that program around. There are the rest of today's officials working with Dennis Hennigan. Chris K. Lackey will kick off for the Horned Frogs. From Fort Worth, I think here in Texas, they'd have more fans than USC, but the Fort Worth campus is almost a 12-hour drive from El Paso, so it is a long trip. R.J. Soward, one of the most dangerous return men in the country, back deep. And the 65th Sun Bowl is underway. R.J. Soward from the 8. Bounced off several would-be tacklers and made his way out to the 24-yard line, where he was tackled by Landry Burdine. So here comes Carson Palmer, the true freshman from Laguna Niguel, California, in Southern California, out of Santa Margarita High School. Excellent size. Hugh Jackson, the offensive coordinator, told us he has tremendous poise and there is not a pass that he cannot throw. He's completed 54.6% of his passes. And on first down, he hands the ball to Chad Morton, and he's stopped for a loss. A loss of 1 back to the 23. Sean Worthen and Ray Lacey combined on the stop for TCU. Here's the rest of the USC offense. Chad Morton is their leading rusher. Marvin Powell is a blocking fullback. Miller and Soward, tremendous threats at wide receiver, and Antoine Harris, the tight end. And up front, the best of the unit is Travis Claridge, the right guard. Matt McShane, the center. David Pratchard steps in to start this week at left guard. Brent McCaffrey and Matt Welch are the tight ends. Palmer on second down, looking to throw, and it's incomplete at the 34-yard line, intended for the tight end Antoine Harris. TCU defensively, Ray Lacey, Sean Worthen, J.W. Wilson, and Aaron Schobel, an outstanding pass rusher at right end. Only 2 linebackers, Shannon Brazil and Joseph Phipps. The WAC Defensive Player of the Year was Phipps. And they play 5 defensive backs: Greg Walls, Russell Gary, Reggie Hunt, Curtis Fuller, and Andre Bruce. 3rd down and 11 on the first possession of the football game. 3 wide receivers. Mike Bastianelli now on the field. Under pressure, Palmer gets it off and completes it to Bastianelli. And he has a first down. Out across the 35 to the 36-yard line. Just the 9th reception of the year for Bastianelli. Cody Slinkard came on a safety blitz but couldn't get Palmer.
Well, Sean, I think this is going to be one of the keys of the game. Can USC protect its quarterback today? Carson Palmer can hit passes if he has enough time to get his feet planted and get the ball downfield. Here he's under pressure, works the pocket extremely well, and finds the open receiver for the first down.
Morton stopped at the 39 after a gain of 3. Curtis Fuller made the first hit, and then Aaron Schobel helped him out. How important for TCU to get off to a good start? They are a decided underdog, more than a 2-touchdown underdog in this game.
Well, it's particularly critical because TCU is such a strong running team, but a very poor passing team. So if they fall way behind early in this game, they have very little hope, really, of recapturing the lead. So Coach Franchione, he knows he wants to make sure he takes this game into the 4th quarter. He wants to play the game slow, extend the game as long as he can, be close in the 4th quarter.
Palmer stumbled as he took his drop, and then his pass is dropped by Chad Morton. Russell Gary again blitzing, and we'd expect to see a lot of blitzing today from TCU, with defense coordinated by Gary Patterson.
Well, one thing about the turf here at the Sun Bowl, it's not real good, and Carson Palmer slips coming out, and you're going to see players, I think, have to adjust to the footing, particularly when you haven't played on AstroTurf. You get to practice on it a little bit, but it's different when you have game speed, and I think you'll see both teams make a little adjustment as the game goes along.
So another third down. They converted the 3rd and 11 a moment ago. 30% on third downs for the year. Palmer throws short of a first down to Chad Morton. He's about 2 yards shy at the 44. Tackled by Joseph Phipps, and TCU forces a punt.
Well, TCU's got to be pleased with this first series of plays because they've come into the game saying USC is not going to run the ball. We're going to force them to throw, and once we do, we're going to pressure Carson Palmer. So far, they've been able to do that. They've shut down the SC running game here early, and they have put some pressure on Carson Palmer.
Good punt by Mike McGillivray, the redshirt freshman. It's Royce Huffman, who performs just about every task for TCU, returning just across the 21-yard line. A 37-yard punt, a 3-yard return. Back to El Paso in a moment. Back in El Paso, TCU about to go on offense for the first time, led by the junior from Sugar Land, Texas, quarterback Patrick Bateau. In his first year playing quarterback. Last year he was their leading wide receiver under Coach Pat Sullivan. Converted to quarterback this year. He hands off on first down to Basil Mitchell, and he's dropped for a loss. Lawrence Larry had penetration from his defensive end position and stopped Mitchell for a loss on the play. The Horned Frog offense. Mitchell alternates at tailback with LaDainian Tomlinson. They play 3 wide receivers for much of the game. Huffman, Crawford, and Scarborough, the starters. Jason Illiand is a fine tight end. Up front, David Bobo, Greg Davis, Jeff Garner, Jeff Milliken, and Russ Sanders. They're a bit undersized, but they are quick. And in this type of offense, that's very helpful. Out of the shotgun, Bateau, a quarterback draw. He's much more of a threat as a runner when he's close to a first down. Out at the 30-yard line, Grant Pearsall, the safety, made the tackle. That's a gain of 11.
Well, it's good strategy by TCU here. They spread the defense out. They get in the shotgun formation. 4 wide receivers have no intention throwing the ball early in the game with Patrick Bateau. They want to run him, and USC will begin to adjust to this. They'll know when they get into that shotgun, hey, play the run. Those defensive linemen are going to have to settle in and watch the quarterback draw all day long. You want Patrick Bateau to throw. You want to force him to throw.
TCU 8th in the nation in rushing. As Terry said, 240 yards, generally the magic number for them, and they didn't get the playoff. 3rd and less than a yard was the situation, but now it's going to be 3rd and 5+. Or did they get the timeout called before the play clock expired? The officials conferring on that matter right now.
Timeout, TCU. That is their first timeout.
So the Horned Frogs did get the timeout called just before the clock ran out. We're back in El Paso. CBS Sports pleased to be continuing its 31-year relationship with the Sun Bowl. And a big play here early for TCU. They want to control the clock and shorten the game, in the words of Dennis Franchione. Option for Bateau, and he has the first down. Elected to keep it, and he made his way to the 33-yard line where Chris Claiborne and David Gibson combined on the stop. Let's meet the rest of the USC defense. Up front, Abdul Malik, Davis, Mattock, and Larry. The linebackers, Zeke Moreno and David Gibson, alongside Chris Claiborne. An outstanding secondary, Dalen McCutcheon, an All-American, Pearsall and Cook, the safeties. Simmons alternates with Ken Haslett at the other corner. The pitch to Mitchell, and he has running room. Out of bounds across the 45. Taken out at the 48-yard line by Grant Pearsall. And that's a gain of 15 for Mitchell, the senior from Mount Pleasant, Texas.
TCU has done a really nice job thus far in the game of spreading the SC defense out, trying to run quarterback draws and options, and here's just another way of running the option. You might see Texas Christian University today run 25 different formations and run the option play 8 or 10 different ways. That puts real stress on the USC defense. That's hard to get ready for when you're preparing for a game.
Mitchell in trouble as he caught the pass behind the line of scrimmage. He did well to get back near the line. Ken Haslett made the tackle with help from Sultan Abdul Malik. There's Haslett, who's been rotating at one corner with Antoine Simmons, and apparently Ken was injured on the play. He's a senior from Altadena, California.
This helps SC, Sean, when USC can get TCU behind the down and distance. If they can play real well on first down, then all of a sudden the offense, because it's so limited in terms of its throwing ability, becomes easier to get a hold of. And it really helps the USC defense to play well in those first down situations like they just did there.
On 2nd and 10, the pitch to Mitchell. And he's out near the 50-yard line. Again, excellent pursuit to the ball by Richard Cook, the safety. Lawrence Larry also in on the stop. It's been an excellent defense all year long for USC. They're number 1 in the Pac-10 in total defense, scoring defense, and in pass efficiency defense. Matter of fact, they're 3rd in the nation against the pass, in large part because of the exploits of Richard Cook, who probably doesn't get enough attention around the country nationally for his work as a safety. He's one of the best in the country. His first team all Pac-10 this year, the senior from San Diego. On 3rd down and 8, Bateau steps up and fires a strike for a first down into Trojan territory. Tim Maiden, who had just 3 catches all year in the regular season, takes that one down inside the 30 for a gain of 22.
TCU did a nice job of moving the quarterback, Patrick Bateau, to the outside, and then the receivers do a good job pressing downfield, and then Tim Maiden comes inside on an inside route, and Bateau throws the ball right on target, but he pays the price here with Chris Claiborne as he gets level.
Bateau completed just 55 passes all season through 1 touchdown pass. They're not very good at throwing the ball, but they were in a key spot there. And now it's Mitchell down to the 20-yard line, where he was stopped by Zeke Moreno. 8 more for the Horned Frogs. Clearly they were fired up, Terry, to be in this game. They were surprised they even got into a bowl game. Whereas USC, they're the mighty Trojans, even though not in a bowl game the last 2 years. You wonder about their frame of mind.
Well, there's no question. It's easier to play in a bowl game as a heavy underdog. And USC has a much more difficult role today playing as a heavy favorite. TCU has nothing to lose, everything to gain. SC, on the other hand, has a lot to lose.
We've already seen some major upsets in this bowl season. Purdue over Kansas State. Idaho beat Southern Miss. That's Bateau on 2nd and short. He appears to have the first down inside the 17-yard line. David Gibson, the tackler for USC.
The impressive thing about the TCU drive thus far has been the number of formations that they've come out in. They are really making SC work mentally. Not so much physically, but mentally. They're making them get lined up properly, make sure they have all the people covered, and then all of a sudden they put one of those little option plays on them. And when you put the mental stress and then trying to defense the option, that's where the defense gets strained. And SC is getting strained early in this drive.
10th play of the drive. 1st and 10. Bateau keeps inside the 10, inside the 5, and tackled by Cook to the 3-yard line.
The offensive line of USC of TCU did a great job shutting off the inside of the SC defense, and Patrick Bateau just finds a little crease. He begins to stretch the defense. Then as an option quarterback, you just see a little hole right in the defense, and as soon as you see that, you just want to grab it and make that first down or make that touchdown.
Chris Claiborne overran the play that time, creating that hole. Right up the middle. Touchdown, Basil Mitchell.
Franchione said that his team came into this game believing they could beat USC, believing they could play with them despite the fact they were going to be a heavy underdog. This was a very impressive first drive for TCU. Great play calling, outstanding formationing by the coaching staff, and good execution by the TCU players. The USC defense will adjust as the game goes on and get more and more used to the tempo of the game and the number of formations that they're seeing.
Chris Kalacki added the extra point, and the Horned Frogs from Fort Worth have a 7-0 lead. Basil Mitchell, a 3-yard run, and the underdog Horned Frogs have a 7-0 lead, and it's the kind of drive Dennis Franchione wants in this game. Long, time-consuming, ball-control drives. 11 plays, 79 yards on that one. 4:47 taken off the clock. R.J. Soward waiting for Kalacki's kickoff, and it drives him 3 yards deep. He's going to bring it out, and that is a mistake as he's taken down at the 15-yard line. Reggie Hunt, the first to hit him. Time now for our Sun America virtual playbook.
Well, USC popularized the student body sweep under John McKay in the early 1960s at USC. It became the most popular play in football. The ball is tossed to the tailback, the fullback kicks out the strong safety, and the tailback runs inside or outside of the fullback's block. Although SC doesn't run as many toss sweeps today, they still have it in their arsenal.
R.J. Soward apparently was injured while returning that kickoff. Carson Palmer under pressure on first down, throws, caught, first down out to the 34-yard line. Larry Parker made the catch. Andre Bruce had the coverage. That's a 19-yard completion. And here's Mike Mayock.
Hey, Sean, defensive line coach Ed Ogeron was pretty upset on that last series about a lack of intensity. His comments to his players, we didn't see anything on that whole drive. We hadn't practiced the last 3 weeks. And what they're going to concentrate on right now is the quarterback, Patrick Bateau, both on option and on quarterback draw.
And Ed Ogeron, one of the most emotional assistant coaches you'll find. He's coached at Syracuse and at Miami. He'll get after his players. Right now it's the TCU defense led by Cody Mortensen getting after Chad Morton. No gain on the play, perhaps even a loss. Back to the 33. It is a loss of 1. Mortensen's a senior from LaPorte, Texas, and he was 6th on the team in tackles this year, despite the fact that he started just 1 game. He missed a couple of games early in the year with an ankle injury. Second and 11. Palmer going deep, has a man open, but it's overthrown. He was looking for Larry Parker. And Parker has outstanding speed. He was behind Andre Bruce, but the pass was just a bit too long.
It's really an outstanding route run by Larry Parker, and Carson Palmer just overthrows it. And this is probably inexperience as much as anything. Carson Palmer is going to be a marvelous player as he gets more experience and matures. He just needed to put a little more air under that ball, put it a little bit higher so that Larry Parker could run under it. He'll learn that as he plays. Every game is a new experience for this young quarterback.
Here comes the blitz, and Palmer gets it off, caught along the sideline by Antoine Harris. He had running room but couldn't stay in bounds and went out at the 37. Joseph Phipps came on the blitz, and they're coming after Palmer with regularity.
But you can't teach a quarterback how to avoid the rush. He has to do it naturally, instinctively, and Palmer does. Here he is, a true freshman playing, and all of a sudden he just moves the pocket, works outside, gets away from the tremendous TCU rush. That was a big play by Carson Palmer, although it didn't make the first down. It was a well-executed play on his part.
Mike McGilvery with the punt. Royce Huffman caught it at the 28, and he gets driven back at the 36-yard line. A 35-yard punt by McGilvery from Sierra Madre, California. TCU back on offense with a 7-0 lead. And we'll be back in a moment. Two backs, two wide receivers. The look this time for TCU on the first play of this possession. 1st and 10 from the 36. Bateau. The late pitch to Mitchell. And he's upended at the 39 by the cornerback Dalen McCutcheon. First team All Pac-10 this year. Third team All-American this season as selected by the Associated Press.
Patrick Bateau here runs the option play to perfection. Maybe holds the ball just a little too long. If he deals it off to the running back a little bit quicker, that back has a chance to make a cut and get the ball down the field a little bit faster. Mitchell wants that ball in his hands quicker than Bateau gave it to him that time.
Bateau has improved as the season has gone along, as you might expect from a player who was a wide receiver last year under a different coaching staff. He's running for his life at the moment. And managed to get back to about the line of scrimmage where Zeke Moreno put a pop on him. Last year, Patrick Bateau was their leading wide receiver. He had 27 catches. Dennis Franchione and his coaching staff wanted a quarterback with speed to run this offense. So they were familiar with Bateau because he was a quarterback for 1 year in high school, and they tried to recruit him to the University of New Mexico. So when they arrived, they tried Bateau at both wide receiver and quarterback in spring practice, and decided to go ahead and make the change completely, and he became their quarterback.
And you know what I like about that, Sean, is the guy is unselfish. He's willing to move for the team.
On 3rd down, Mitchell has a big hole, has a first down, and has a touchdown for TCU.
Is run to perfection by TCU on this play. Watch the fullback out in front, number 35, Lance Williams. He makes the block on Dalen McCutcheon that allows the play to run for a touchdown. It's well executed by Patrick Bateau. Everything inside is blocked by the offensive line, but the block by Lance Williams was the key to that play.
60 yards on the touchdown run for Basil Mitchell. Kalecki adds the extra point, and a major surprise early. 5 minutes left in the first quarter, and the Frogs lead by 2 touchdowns.
It began as a way to give something back. You never knew you'd get so much in return. Throughout the day, with Fixitant's long-lasting hold, you'll enjoy every moment, right up until the very last thank you. For a long-lasting hold, Fixitant and forget it.
When Deborah loses control of the kids, who can she turn to?
I have a very busy schedule.
Greg, isn't it time for your 9 o'clock butt scratch?
Chaos rules on Raymond at a special time, CBS Monday.
The play was successful for the touchdown. If you watch the left tackle, David Bobo, he's going to make a key block. He's going to get the option started. He's going to get the defensive linebacker sealed inside. Then Patrick Bateau brings the ball downfield, gets it pitched out, and Lance Williams, 35, makes the key block. That's what enables TCU to go the distance.
Terry, from here, it looks like TCU is excited to be here, ready to play, and USC looks like they're still on the bus.
Reminds me a little bit of the bowl game we watched the other night, Purdue and Kansas State. Kansas State got off to such a slow start and eventually warmed up as the game went along. I think SC will do the same thing. I think there's no question that TCU's intensity level is much higher right now, plus their confidence. You know, now they know they can play with USC.
R.J. Soward was on the field to handle that kickoff from Chris Kalecki. Drilled it to the back of the end zone.
Paul Hackett, who we just saw there, has a real difficult job because he's got to get his team enthused. He's got to create some juice in them right now, and he knows it. And what happens, what really helps you do that is a big play. If you can just get a big play out of your offensive team, all of a sudden everybody can say, hey, we're in a ball game, and they can get excited. And that's what Paul's going to have to look for here, is some way to make a big play.
They had a chance in the last possession, but Palmer overthrew the receiver deep downfield. He's on the money that time to Billy Miller. And the senior has a first down for USC out to the 15-yard line, or rather to the 35-yard line, a gain of 15. Curtis Fuller made the tackle. Terrence Maiden also in on the stop.
USC came into the game wanting to establish a good running game, wanting to make the game physical, but TCU has 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage on early downs, and they're saying, hey, you're going to have to throw it on first down. That's what SC just did. They lined up on first down and hit a nice ball down the field. They're going to have to loosen the TCU defense up.
Back to the run, and Chad Morton gets a half a yard before he ran into J.W. Wilson. And we send it down to Mike Mayock.
Well, Sean, at yesterday's luncheon, I sat right next to head coach Dennis Franchione, and I asked him if he had paid any particular attention to the upsets in the bowl season. He got a big grin on his face. He said, I'll tell you what, I love the Purdue game. You can bet I told our players about it. But even more importantly, the Air Force game, a WAC team, beating up on Washington, a Pac-10 team. He said, hey, we beat Air Force. We're the only team that beat them this year. Our players know we can win the game. I'm not sure USC thinks we can.
That's an excellent point, because that's the one result that jumped off the page when you looked at the season to date. That's Soward on the end around, slipping down right at the line of scrimmage. But if you're good enough to beat Air Force, then you're certainly good enough to beat USC.
Well, there's no question about it, but Paul Hackett really has a hard job. When you bring a team in to a bowl as a heavy favorite, it is a monumental task to really convince your players that they are in for a dogfight. You just psychologically have to really work at it. And I think maybe the SC players, as the game goes on, I just believe the tempo of the game will help them get into it more and more.
Bastianelli went in motion on third down and long. The catch made by Soward. He bounces off a couple of hits. What a play. And he's very close to a first down. Great effort by Soward to even get near the marker at the 45-yard line.
Well, R.J. Soward is the guy that USC wants to get the ball to. He runs a little crossing route, just runs underneath. They do a good job. They hit him with the ball. But look at the skill. He spins, makes one player miss, make another player miss, and then almost gets to the first down marker on a great individual effort.
Well, an interesting decision here. 3 minutes left in the first quarter. 4th down and 1. And Paul Hackett at his own 45 decides to punt.
Yeah, I think this is a good call, Sean. I think it's way too early in the game for USC to gamble. They have to believe physically they can play with TCU, and so you don't want to gamble with this poor field position. I think this is absolutely the right thing to do.
Gilvery's punt handled by Huffman, a 42-yard punt, and no return on the fair catch. Saturday, it's college basketball, an NCAA doubleheader. Beginning in the ACC, Clemson still looking for its first win ever at North Carolina. The Tar Heels ranked number 9. And then it's Louisville coming off the big win against Kentucky here on CBS last weekend, heading up to East Lansing to take on the Michigan State Spartans. And it all begins Saturday at 2 Eastern time right here on CBS. Horned Frogs begin this possession. They're their own 14. They've had the ball twice and they've scored twice. Inside handoff, a rare carry for the fullback, Lance Williams, and he ran into Chris Claiborne. Last appearance in a bowl game for TCU was in 1994. They went to Shreveport for the Independence Bowl and lost to Virginia. They're 4-9-1 all time in bowl games, but their last bowl win was the 1957 Cotton Bowl, a 1-point victory over Syracuse. Since then, they're 0-4-1. Played Air Force to a scoreless tie in the 59 Cotton Bowl and have lost 4 straight bowl games since. This season, just the 6th winning season in the last 35 years for TCU. Bateau the keeper, and Antoine Simmons tripped him up across the 20-yard line of the 21.
another factor I think that's really going to come to play in the game. USC really hasn't faced a lot of option teams this season. In fact, the only team that ran any options on them at all probably was Notre Dame. And so when you try to practice against it, you really don't stimulate the offense very well. It's not easy to just all of a sudden run options against your own team. So again, I believe as the game goes along, the USC defense will get used to the speed of the option and play it better and better. Early, it's more difficult to play.
3rd and 3, and the play stopped. Simmons came off the field injured after making the tackle on the last play. And Ken Haslip is back on the field for USC. This will be the first penalty of the game against either team. One problem for USC this year, they have been highly penalized.
Prior to the snap, offsides, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
The Trojans have averaged 10 penalties a game, or an average of 90 yards per game in penalties. And the 5-yard walk-off gives the Horned Frogs a 1st and 10 from their own 26 this first quarter. Couldn't have been any better for Dennis Francione and his team. Bateau the pitch, and Mitchell gets ankle tackled at the 30 by Mark Cusano, a backup linebacker, senior from the Colony, Texas. Back in his home state, he was a starter earlier in the year, but then Cusano had hamstring and ankle injuries and was in and out of the lineup. Well, man, you got tired of hearing that band after a while when you were coaching at UCLA.
Boy, I'll tell you, there's no question. You know, it's easier for me to do the game from up here than it was on the sideline. I don't quite understand that.
You don't have the same emotion?
No.
Were the Trojans?
I'm a lot more relaxed today than I was in those 25 games that I had against those guys over the course of my career at UCLA as an assistant or head coach.
Bateau swarmed at the 32-yard line by Mark Cusano and Dalen McCutcheon. They still haven't been able to get back on track against UCLA yet. That's another step that Paul Hackett will try to take with this program. It's 8 losses in a row now to your alma mater.
No question. That's one of the things that Paul Hackett is committed to trying to do, is to try and get the competitive series between UCLA and SC turned back around the other way. And that's going to be difficult for him to do because UCLA is on a real roll right now and has good players and good coaching, and they're doing an excellent job. So it won't be easy for him to do that.
3rd down upcoming, and a timeout called by Dennis Francione. They do have the wind at their back here in the first quarter, so you wonder if he's preparing for the possibility of a punt. If they don't convert this play, they might call timeout again and punt with the pretty good breeze now.
This is a critical 3rd down situation for SC too, because although it's early in the game and you have a lot of football ahead of you, you have to demonstrate on defense that you can stop TCU. They haven't stopped them yet. So if they can get them stopped and get Paul Hackett's offense the ball back, they can get maybe their rhythm on offense and get into the game emotionally as well as physically. But this is a big, important 3rd down stop. They've got TCU in a pretty good down and distance situation. Now they just have to come up with a 3rd and 4 stop.
3rd down and 4 for TCU. The Horned Frogs have dominated this first quarter. They lead 14-0 on touchdown runs of 3 yards and 60 yards by Basil Mitchell. Mitchell vacated the backfield. Bateau has running room up the middle and has the first down. He's pulled down by Mark Cusano at the 42-yard line. Gain of 10 on the scramble for Bateau on what will be the final play of the first quarter.
Well, Patrick Bateau certainly has played an outstanding first quarter. He's run the option to perfection. He's thrown the ball downfield for completions. And here on the quarterback scramble, he makes the first down. He has kind of been the X factor in the game thus far. He's been the guy that USC has had a difficult time putting a fence around.
At the end of the first quarter, the score, TCU 14 and USC nothing. We'll return to the Northwest Sun Bowl after this message and a word from your local station. At the Sun Bowl, the stadium nestled amongst the mountains that are the southernmost point of the Rockies. First quarter dominated by TCU, and they have it 1st and 10 to begin the second quarter. Bateau back near the line of scrimmage. Terry, you made the point a moment ago. Bateau, key player in that first quarter, 49 yards rushing and 2 for 2 passing.
Well, there's no question he's been the X factor thus far. SC's had a difficult time trying to get him controlled, and as the game goes along, they're going to have to be able to play the quarterback draw, which has been effective. They're going to have to settle down on the option play and get that thing under control. Right now, TCU has had everything their own way thus far in the first quarter.
Bateau has been a two-sport athlete at TCU. There's a late flag on the play. Dead ball personal fouls against each team. They offset. And it'll be second down and just more than 10. But Bateau has played basketball as a reserve guard the last couple of years for Billy Tubbs' Horned Frog basketball squad. But he's not going to play this year, and they have another good team this year, 11-2 right now under Coach Tubbs. On second down, it's LaDainian Tomlinson, part of that dual threat at tailback with Mitchell. Tomlinson got back across the line of scrimmage to the 45, a short gain. It'll be third down and long, and TCU's averaging 8 yards per carry.
One of the things that an option team forces you to do on defense is play assignment football. Somebody has to take an inside dive man, somebody has to take a quarterback, somebody has to take a pitch, and what it does, it takes a player like Chris Claiborne and it limits what he can do. You haven't been calling his name a lot, you know, Sean, and he's a great linebacker, but the style of offense affects how he's able to play.
Perfect on third down conversions are the Horned Frogs. This is Tomlinson keeping them perfect. He's into Trojan territory at the 45-yard line. It was Claiborne who made the tackle, but well downfield, a gain of 10 and a first down.
Well, TCU is an awfully good running team, and there's no question about it that Tomlinson here does a lot of this on his own. He breaks some tackles. Claiborne finally makes the stop, but that's too far down the field for a linebacker. He goes with the fake and then recovers. This is great hustle on his part, but it's an outstanding run and a power run by Tomlinson. TCU thinks they have two tailbacks, Mitchell, Tomlinson. It doesn't matter to them who's in the game.
And the coaching staff generally lets them decide which one plays. They make their own calls about the rotation of playing time, and that's certainly an interesting way to do it. Tomlinson carried. They said they're so unselfish that late in the year, when Mitchell was approaching 1,000 yards for the season, had a chance to do it in the last game against UNLV. Tomlinson really backed away and told Mitchell, you go ahead and get the 1,000-yard season, which Mitchell did.
Which is nice in that situation. Tomlinson just being a sophomore, Mitchell being a senior. And the other thing is, when one player's hot, you know, a player gets hot in a game, the other guy can sense that. And they've done that throughout the year. If Mitchell's hot, Tomlinson backs off. If Tomlinson's hot, Mitchell backs off. What a nice situation for a coaching staff and a team.
On 2nd and 6, Bateau faked to Tomlinson and throws on the run. Short of a first down is Lance Williams, the fullback. Bateau, not known for his throwing ability, isn't a classic thrower by any stretch, but he has been very effective on the rare pass plays today.
Well, I've been very surprised, I admit, very surprised that Patrick Bateau has been able to come out and hit the passes that he's hit and been able to run the offense as effectively as he has. I think it's, again, his ability to get the ball downfield 2 or 3 times today and his scrambling ability that has really stretched the SC defense.
SC has not been able to stop TCU yet today. There's another chance to stop on third down and short. Bateau forced to pitch it. And Tomlinson lunges ahead for another first down. David Gibson and Richard Cook made the tackle, but there is a flag on the play. Thrown near the line of scrimmage on the far side of the field. Well, either way, it's a first down for TCU.
Dennis Franchione has done an excellent job along with his offensive staff. Dan Dodd, the offensive coordinator, they game plan this together, and they've done a good job of really formationing, spreading the defense out, creating a lot of mental work for SC along with the physical work, and then just slipping in those little option plays. And they pick up 3-5 yards, but they're effective.
They took the penalty. It was the 5 yards, just a bit longer than the gain by Tomlinson. They compare themselves offensively to Syracuse with the variety of things that they do. But obviously the one area where they're not as productive as Syracuse in the passing game.
No question. They give up some execution for diversity. But they've certainly executed today, and SC's got to hope that they mishandle some of these option plays.
Tomlinson wants to throw it, and it's incomplete. That was very well defended by USC. Jason Ilian, the intended receiver, but there were 2 purple shirts down there, the black and purple of TCU, and there were 3 Trojan defenders looking to pick that pass off.
It was really good defense by USC, and one of the things that happens to you when you're playing defense against an option team, pretty soon everybody starts thinking run, 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 and then just as TCU did, they try to slip in a little play action pass, a play that looks like a run but really is a pass. USC defense played it very well.
Second and 10, early second quarter. TCU leads 14-0. Tomlinson tackled behind the line of scrimmage by Zeke Moreno. Nice play by the sophomore from Chula Vista, California, the brother of Moses Moreno, now in the NFL as a quarterback with the Chicago Bears.
Well, Zeke Moreno really made an outstanding play. He's number 34, and what he does, he jumps outside and he acts like he's going to take the quarterback, and then he breaks on the pitch. He sweats the option. A coaching term is sweat the option. Don't just jump the quarterback quickly, because when you do, you eliminate yourself. Try to take both the quarterback and the pitch. And Marino on that particular play did it as well as you can do it.
He became a starter earlier in the year when Mark Cusano went down with the injuries we talked about earlier. Another third down, 3rd and long, and another completion to Tomlinson. And he's inside the 15-yard line. Another first down for the Horned Frogs. A gain of 25, and Bateau has not missed on a pass play yet. He is 4 for 4 for 51 yards.
Well, that's as surprising as the score is, Sean, to me. And you can watch the tailback. Watch him right there. Tomlinson is just going to slip out of the backfield. Bateau just throws him, and SC has no one in the flat coverage. It was some kind of a break by the USC defense. Either they missed an assignment, someone was supposed to pick up the tailback, Tomlinson, or somebody was supposed to be out in the flat, but it was clearly a busted coverage.
And Mark Cusano had to make the tackle well downfield. The Horned Frogs on the move again. Bateau ducks under to the 8-yard line.
Well, if you're a USC fan, you've got to be concerned at this time. Right now, the TCU offensive line is doing an outstanding job on the defensive front. And remember, you're talking about the best defensive team in the Pac-10. I mean, we're talking, Sean, a team that really all season long played outstanding defense. But right now, the defense is just being stretched and pulled apart by some outstanding play by that front of the TC offensive line and some great coaching by the TCU staff.
Cedric James, the motion man. Option to the short side. Bateau. Touchdown.
This is just a classic option play. Patrick Bateau just spins around, comes down the line of scrimmage. Nobody takes him. He finds a hole in the defense and darts in for the touchdown. There was a great block on the play by number 61, David Bobo. The left tackle did an outstanding job getting the defense sealed.
An 8-yard run by the junior. TCU's had the ball 3 times. They've scored 3 touchdowns. Flags down on the extra point. Movement appeared by the Trojans, but Chris Kalaki's extra point was good. But there is a flag on the play.
Offsides on the defense. Penalty is declined. Extra point is good.
Looked like Prentice Hill was across the line of scrimmage. Everything going Dennis Franchioni's way in El Paso.
Chris Claiborne showing some of the frustration of the USC defense, a defense that really has been shredded early in the game by some outstanding execution by the TCU offense.
I'm a little bit perplexed by the apparent attitude of this Trojan team, Terry. Yes, they are USC with a proud football tradition over the years, but they haven't been in a bowl game the last 2 seasons. Most of these players haven't experienced a bowl situation, so you wonder why they wouldn't be enthused after 6-win seasons each of the previous 2 years to be in any bowl against any opponent.
You know, when we were at the luncheon yesterday, I sat next to Paul Hackett, and I got the feeling that SC maybe had been here a little bit too long. They were anxious to get the game on and to get home, you know, and you have to be careful when you do that. When you come to a bowl, there's a lot of intangible factors that go into the game. How hard your team practices, how long you're at the bowl site, how much they wear themselves out. All those things as a head coach have to be evaluated and judged. And I got the impression, again, that perhaps SC was ready to go home, and you have a game yet to play.
Paul Hackett said that in his speech at the luncheon yesterday. He said certainly it is time to play the game. So you could sense that he was anxious to get on with the battle. Larry Parker returned the kickoff to the 36-yard line.
Again, Sean, I go back to a statement I said, as soon as you can get a big play, if SC can get a big play, they can get enthused, they can get excited and get back into the game.
Chad Morton, the ball carrier. He's out to the 39-yard line. There is a flag on the play. It looked like there was some strange motion against USC on that play. It was a very late flag. You could hear the Horned Frog sideline hollering, and it is an illegal shift. And then it's Hennigan talking it over with Joe Phipps, the senior from Diboll, Texas, the defensive captain for TCU. What a year he had for the Frogs. 153 tackles, 95 of them solo tackles. That's a TCU school record.
Illegal shift on the offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That takes it back to the 31-yard line. They're trying to get a running game going today with Chad Morton, the ball carrier. Marcus Allen, Charles White, O.J. Simpson, Mike Garrett among the great backs that they've had, Heisman Trophy winners. Reggie Hunt put the immediate hit on R.J. Soward after a gain of 9 over the middle. And that leads us into the Aflac trivia question. USC's had the 4 Heisman winners. TCU has had 1. And we want to know who is TCU's only Heisman Trophy winner.
And you know, I finally know the answer to one of the trivia questions.
Well, I think you played against them.
I did not play against them.
Carson Palmer throws. It's caught, but out of bounds. Billy Miller into the air to make the grab, but he was out of bounds, and one of the TCU defenders lost a tire there.
Well, Billy Miller has had a nice senior year for USC. Here he just runs a streak route. A little jostling going on there between the offense and defense, but a great job by Billy Miller going up and catching the ball with his hands. But wide receivers have got to make sure they give themselves room on the sideline. And that's a mistake Billy made. He got too close to the sideline, and then the ball carried him out of bounds. And that happens all the time at every level of football.
Charlie Owens didn't get his shoe back on in time for this play. 3rd down for the Trojans. Palmer throwing on the run, looking for Larry Parker. And he couldn't hang on. He did hang on. He made the catch at the 12-yard line. There is a flag on the play. And what a catch by Parker. If that stands, it's the big play that you were talking about they needed, but this might be coming back.
It's going to be a hold against SC. When it rains, it pours, as they say, you know. And SC, as you said, they get the big play finally that they need to get excited, and they get called back here on the holding call. This is a great job here. Carson Palmer scrambles out of the pocket, and he does an outstanding job. Look at the arm strength. He just flicks this ball 60 yards downfield. But sure enough, and watch the catch here. This is a great job by Larry Parker going up and grabbing that ball out of the air. Tremendous catch by him.
Andre Bruce had the coverage. Clearly there was holding on that play. We saw in the first replay Jason Grain tackled TCU rusher Sean Worthen. Good call by the officials, and the nightmare continues for Paul Hackett. 3rd down and a mile now. 3rd and 20. They need to reach their own 46-yard line. Palmer going for much more than that. And it's incomplete. Thrown to the double coverage intended for Soward. Curtis Fuller had the primary coverage. He had help from Andre Bruce, and the Trojans will be forced to punt yet again.
Well, again, I think this is a good call. You got 3rd and a mile, and Carson Palmer just lets this ball fly to the fastest guy on that team, R.J. Soward, and the ball, again, is thrown pretty doggone well. It's just real good coverage by TCU, and the sideline becomes the enemy. The wide receiver has got to stay wider from the sideline tonight.
Mike McGillicuddy's punt, returned by Royce Huffman, and he's tackled at the 35-yard line. Ife Oalete made the tackle for the Trojans. Will return to the Sun Bowl in a moment. We welcome you back to the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. TCU pounding USC at the moment, 21-0. Here's Mike Mayock.
Sean, defensive back coach Dennis Thurman just gathered his defensive backs around them before they went back out for this series. He said, look, I want you flat-footed at 8 yards, meaning don't back up. If they beat us on the pass, it's okay. Make us beat us with the pass game. Right now, we got to stop the run, and we're going to get run out of this stadium, literally. So watch that. Play action, Terry Donahue, could be a big play here for TCU.
Well, no question, Mike. TCU's already gone after him a couple times with play action. Dennis Thurman, now he could play. I remember when he was a player at SC and in pro football, he was one of the great ones.
The pitch to Mitchell, and he got popped just across the line of scrimmage by Grant Pearsall, the senior from Orange, California. He missed all of last year with a left knee injury. But the point that Dennis Thurman is making to his team right now, the rushing yards are 170 for TCU and 3 for USC.
And remember, we talked about 240. Yet TCU said if we can get 240 yards rushing, we're going to win the game. That's kind of the milestone that they set for their club.
Pace they're on, they might get that here in the half. Baton pulled down to the 39-yard line by Ryan Nielsen, the redshirt freshman, backup defensive lineman from Simi Valley, California. But it's been 3 possessions previous to this one for TCU, all 3 resulting in touchdowns, and 2 of the 3 the kind Dennis Franchione. Of course, you'll take any kind of touchdown drive, but he wants the long ball control, run the clock drive.
No question. He wants to extend the game and just have it go into the 4th quarter, kind of, you know, and Bill Young, the defensive coordinator at SC, now he's got his hands full because he's got to adjust his defense, and it'll be a challenge to him. Bill's an outstanding coach. I've known him for years, and he's got to adjust right in the middle of this game and get that defense settled down.
Timeout called by TCU. They have no timeouts remaining. Just about a capacity crowd here for the 65th Sun Bowl. Norwest, the sponsor of the game. And what a surprise this has been. More than midway through the 2nd quarter, TCU leads 21-0. Basil Mitchell on 3rd down and 6. Got back to the line of scrimmage, perhaps a gain of 1, and that's it. Ennis Davis took him down, and this is the first time USC has stopped TCU today.
And that's an important stop. Psychologically, it shows some adjustments by Bill Young and the defensive staff at SC. It's an important stop.
Royce Huffman, we mentioned he's Mr. Everything for TCU. He's a wide receiver, punt returner, and punter. He has rushed the ball this year. He has thrown a pass. He has caught passes, punted, and returned punts. Other than that, he hasn't done much for the Horned Frogs. He's a junior from Missouri City, Texas. His first punt of the day is very high and heading out of bounds along the far sideline. No chance for Larry Parker to return it. Huffman, a barefooted punter. He certainly didn't wear out the shoe punting here in the first half. Back to El Paso in a moment. We're back in El Paso. We take a look at the bowl summary. I think the thing that jumps out at me, Terry, the Pac-10 1 and 2. Washington got demolished by Air Force. Jim Lambright fired as coach of Washington days later. Oregon, a favorite against Colorado, lost. Arizona did get the one win last night against Nebraska. But with this score, I think the question is the Pac-10 a little bit overrated this year? Were they?
Well, you know, I think the top of the Pac-10 has two really outstanding teams, UCLA and Arizona. I think both of those teams are top 5 caliber type clubs. But the rest of the Pac-10, I think, has been a little bit overrated. Washington and SC clearly are not Washington and SC of old. They used to have formidable teams, and that's not the case. They're both really in rebuilding processes. So the league naturally is down. And Oregon, you know, remember, Oregon just turned the ball over 6 or 7 times in the game against Colorado, and that's what led to their demise. But Oregon was a pretty solid team throughout the whole year.
Petros Papadakis in now at tailback, and he had his first carry. I have to get your reaction to the firing of Jim Lambright. That's the big news in the Pac-10 yesterday.
I was really stunned, particularly in view of the fact that Jim, I think, just signed a 5-year contract a year ago. And, you know, that's a lot of money that the University of Washington is going to have to pay Jim Lambright. And they did look bad in the bowl game. But you know, Jim Lambright inherited a program that was going to lose scholarships.
Right.
And it went on probation. And that's a very difficult thing when you're recruiting with one hand behind your back. That isn't easy, but maybe there's more to the story than I know.
Whistles before the snap, and Palmer fumbled the snap, but that doesn't matter. They sort out the flags. We'll answer the Aflac trivia question. We're looking for the only Heisman Trophy winner in TCU history. We have had a number of great players at TCU over the years. Davey O'Brien in 1938. You sure you didn't play against him?
I'm positive. Look at it. They don't have face masks when Davey played.
They were national champs back then. TCU does have a proud history in football, but it is in the distant past. They're trying to get back to that, obviously. And Dennis Franchione said one of the reasons he came from New Mexico to TCU, he believes this program is a sleeping giant. So much football talent in high school football in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's going to try to keep them home. Palmer throws on the run. Look out for Larry Parker. He's all the way to the TCU 19-yard line. Reggie Hunt made the tackle, a gain of 50 for Paul Hackett's offense.
Well, you have to credit Carson Palmer with this play. The protection of USC's offensive line broke down, but Carson Palmer uses his instincts and his natural ability to scramble away, and then he lets it fly downfield. Larry Parker with an outstanding reception coming across field, and then a good run after the play. Parker knows he's open, he wants it, then he breaks off. He does a good job staying alive for the quarterback.
First and 10 Trojans. Chad Morton trying to bounce it outside, and Andre Bruce wouldn't let him. No gain on the play. And it's even amazing that Larry Parker is participating in this bowl game. He sat out all of last year. He had surgery on a stress fracture and an alignment problem of his left foot. His left foot didn't sit at the bottom of the leg at the correct angle. He saw 2 surgeons. Both of them said, yes, you need the surgery and you'll never play football again. He kept going until he found a surgeon who said, I think I can do the surgery and you can play again. And a year later, here he is back running like the wind.
Yeah, and I remember sitting in Larry Parker's home when he was coming out of high school as a high school senior, asking him to come to UCLA, and it came down to UCLA and USC, and they won the recruiting battle on that guy, and they have a good one in here.
Chad Morton went spinning into the line for very little. I know you're familiar with his family history as well. Chad Morton's the younger brother of Johnny Morton.
You're watching CBS 42, WIAT Birmingham.
Brother Eric was a wide receiver at Dartmouth. The half-brother Michael played for the Tampa Bay Bucks back in the early and mid-'80s. Chad's an excellent student as well.
Yeah, he is, and Chad Morton is really fast. He is a fast player, and we didn't even try to recruit him. We knew where he was going to go because Johnny Morton now, he put a lot of gray hairs on my head. That guy, he was terrific.
Third down. Palmer throws. It's deflected and almost intercepted. He was looking for Billy Miller. It went up in the air, and Reggie Hunt had a shot at it. Russell Gary had the coverage on Miller, and then Hunt went diving for what was nearly an interception. And the field goal team comes out for the University of Southern California.
Although USC is not going to get a touchdown out of this, this is a good drive for SC. At least gives them a chance to get on the scoreboard, get some confidence, and get some enthusiasm. This is a very important kick by Abrams. SC needs some good things to happen for him.
TCU has blocked 6 kicks this year. Abrams gets that one up and through. The senior from San Diego has USC on the board with 3:15 left in the first half. It's 21-3 in favor of the Horned Frogs of TCU.
Welcome back to the Northwest Sun Bowl, where we've got a surprising score at 21-3. The TCU Horned Frogs leading USC. But stay tuned at halftime. We've got the AXA Equitable halftime report. We've got a great comeback story of former Alabama star Bobby Humphrey, followed by the great plays and players of the '98 college football season.
We'll look forward to that, Mike. Thank you very much. USC kicking off. David Bell handles the kickoffs. Sophomore from Anaheim. And it's coming down to LaDainian Tomlinson at the 3-yard line. Nice run. Weaving his way through USC players out to the 29-yard line. A 25-yard return. Prentice Hill made the tackle for USC. Get a complete wrap-up of the Sun Bowl and relive the 1998 college football season in the week-by-week archive at cbs.sportsline.com or on America Online at keyword CBS Sportsline.
You know, when you're covering kickoffs, you want all 11 guys down there on those kickoffs. And here SC's trying to get down there, and little missed tackle there by number 37, their kickoff guy.
David Bell.
David Bell, yeah.
Patrick Beto on the keeper. Out to the 31-yard line. And now 2:45 left, coach, and no timeouts for TCU. So it'll be interesting to see the approach they take. If they want to score, they might have to eventually pick the pace up to a bit more brisk pace than they're accustomed to.
Yeah, I think TCU is going to be very content just to run some plays here, let the clock run. If they get a big play, then they're going to hurry it up. But unless they get a big play, they'll be happy just to let the clock go.
Quarterback draw, and nothing there. And now for USC, do you start to think about a timeout? You have 3 left.
Yeah, I think you definitely start thinking about using your timeouts. I've said there's Paul Hackett trying to get one called right there. I think that's a good timeout. And if they get him stopped on this down, they should use another one. I've said for a long time, and I really believe this, what your offense needs is time, not timeouts. Your quarterback can run 2-minute offense or no timeout offense is good as anybody. They train him to do that. So what you have to do is make sure you leave the quarterback enough time so he has a chance to get the ball down the field. You might as well use your timeouts. Generally, you want to save 1 for your field goal team.
Well, this is not the first trip to the Sun Bowl for Paul Hackett. The first time around was a much more pleasant experience than this one. In 1989, he was the head coach at Pittsburgh in his first game as Pitt coach. The Panthers trailing in the 4th quarter when Alex Van Pelt hooked up with Henry Tootin, a 54-yard touchdown. That gave Pittsburgh the lead. A&M's last possession. And the pass intercepted by Barry Treats. Paul Hackett, in his first game as coach, he took over right before the bowl game for Mike Gottfried, who was dismissed. Carried off. That was one of the few bright spots for Coach Hackett. He wound up winning only 13 games in 3 years as the head coach there. But he said he learned a lot of lessons that were valuable to him, make him a better head coach this time around. He has really bounced around in college football and in the NFL. You heard him speak of his experience at USC as an assistant, where his career really took off under John Robinson. He was a part of their national championship team in 1978. The last 5 seasons with Marty Schottenheimer and the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, he was not the Steelers head coach. He was the Panthers head coach in Pittsburgh. 3rd down and long. 3rd and 9. High snap handled by Bateau. Mitchell cuts inside. Look out. Out to the 47, perhaps the 48-yard line. Mark Mattock made the tackle. 18 yards on the run for Mitchell, who's had a huge half.
This is an unusual play. It's a shotgun formation, and they run an option out of the shotgun formation. They pitch the ball to the back, and the other back is the lead blocker, and it's an outstanding play by Mitchell. He finds a little crease in the defense, turns it upfield for the big play, and now TCU will be concerned about the clock. With 2 minutes to go in the half, they will pick up their pace a little bit because they have such better field position than they had.
Mitchell now up to 115 yards rushing on 11 carries. He's had 2 touchdowns from 3 yards out and from 60 yards out. There is an injured Trojan on the play. He's played very well in this half. David Bobo, you highlighted him earlier, and he had another big block on that play, the tackle for TCU, and he has not been a starter most of the year. He's been playing behind Michael Keithley, who was second team all-WAC this year. Keithley injured his back and missed some action late in the regular season. Bobo came in as the starter, and he's played very well today out of Odessa, Texas. Permian High School, one of the most well-known high school programs in the country. Ife Olete is the injured Trojan, key special teams player and backup safety.
Here's a look at the injury, trying to make the tackle here against Mitchell, the tailback, and just that AstroTurf too. I don't want to get carried away on AstroTurf, but it's hard on players. There's no question. It's difficult to play on turf, and every player who's ever played on it will tell you that. And you just have to get used to it and do the best you can.
We're talking about David Bobo, and here's a look at his work on the last play.
He's number 61 in the screen, and he's the one that shuts out the linebacker, shuts down the inside linebacker that allows the ball to get to the perimeter. And Sean, as you mentioned, he's made 2 or 3 key blocks in this game.
That line, as you said, not very big, but they are quick and strong, according to the coaches. They've done an excellent job creating some holes for Bateau and the rest of the backfield. Bateau across midfield. And now the clock very much a factor for TCU. It's going to run under a minute and a half. And they don't have any timeouts left. They're at the Trojan 48.
Plus, they're not a naturally good throwing team. You know, they're a running team. They like to line up, get you in their sights, and then punish you. They're not a team that really likes to go into no-huddle offense and try to move the ball down the field with the throwing game. It's not their style. So they're at a disadvantage here, not having timeouts.
Tomlinson now the tailback. They do have an excellent field goal kicker in Chris Kalaki. Bateau ducks ahead to the 46-yard line, still 4 yards short of the first down. Mark Cusano and Richard Cook made the tackle. And with the pace at which TCU is moving, it seems like they're content to take this 21-3 lead into the locker room.
No question. When you come in as a heavy underdog like TCU did, and all of a sudden you're looking at the scoreboard and it's 21-3, hey, you could care less. Let's just go in there and regroup and get ready for the last 30 minutes of the game.
And when you don't throw well, if you do hurry, you run the risk of making a critical mistake that could turn the momentum right around.
No question. TCU just doesn't want to make a mistake in this area.
And Bateau runs the option, and the pitch is handled by Lance Williams. Late flag thrown in, and it looks like it will be a first down. The flag was thrown in right near where the tackle was made by Ennis Davis. 19 seconds left. It's a holding call.
You know, I just go back to the difficulty of playing against an option type team and how it restricts what you can do. Chris Claiborne. You know, I'm just waiting to hear his name come off your lips, Sean, but you just don't hear it much, and it's because the option offense does that to you. You know, you have to play certain assignments. On one defense, he may have the quarterback. On another defense, he may have the inside dive fake if there is an inside dive fake. And so as a result of that, you don't get to play with the same freedom you do when you play against a conventional style offense.
Seems a couple times that he's overrun the play. Sometimes you have such great speed that you can get where you're going too quickly.
Well, and you're trying to get outside. He's number 55 in the middle of the screen, and he does a nice job slipping under the block and getting all the way across the field. One of the things about Chris Claiborne that you have to love is his range. He can go from sideline to sideline.
Butkus Award winner, best linebacker in the nation, unanimous first team All-American. This is a pretty good battle on the perimeter between Mike Scarborough and Dalen McCutcheon.
And that's, you know, for wide receivers at TCU, they're like interior linemen. You know,
that's the hold too, I would guess.
They aren't guys that are catching a whole lot of passes. You know, their leading receivers got 19 catches on the season. You know, so they're more like linemen.
Wide blockers, as they're known at some of the military academies who run the football. What a first half for Dennis Franchione. At halftime, his Horned Frogs lead 21-3 in the Norwest Sun Bowl. And they dominated the entire first half. And here's Mike Mayock.
Hey, Coach, earlier this week on our conference call, you said you were a little concerned about being a 16-point favorite, and you turn around, what happens today?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, the favorite thing is part of it, but more importantly, it's their ability to execute the option. They're doing a superb job of executing the option, even in third down plays, and, you know, we're not handling it right now. We've got to go in and regroup at halftime. We've got to come back out. We've got to play our kind of football and stop the option.
Coach, thanks very much. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
The end of the first half, the score TCU 21, USC 3. Mike Mayock is along. The College Football Today Accent Equitable halftime report right after this message and a word from your local station. TCU was the magnificent 11 on each side of the ball in the first half. The Horned Frogs have an 18-point lead, and they'll get the ball to begin the second half. David Bell kicks off. LaDainian Tomlinson from the 5, and he's out to the 21. Sean McDonough along with Terry Donahue. Happy New Year from all of us at CBS Sports. It hasn't been a very happy way to ring in the new year so far for USC. Can they change enough? As coaches, do you have enough time at a halftime to do everything you need to do to adjust to this option attack?
I don't think they can change structurally that much, but what you can do is try to get your defensive backs up quicker in support, maybe get your linebackers not to overrun and over pursue quite so much. Some things you can adjust, but the overall scheme, the plan has been laid long ago.
I wonder what the tone of Paul Hackett's talk was at halftime. Certainly his team was very flat in the first half. This is Basil Mitchell, who was anything but flat out near the 25-yard line before he was driven back. Mitchell had 114 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, including a 60-yarder in the first half. And obviously the numbers reflect the domination by TCU. 200 rushing yards in the first half, 7 of 9 on third down, and the time of possession, I think it's even better than Dennis Franchione could have hoped for in his wildest dreams.
No question. I think that he's got to be shocked with the way the first half went, but there's 30 minutes left in this game, and you know, you talk about adjustments. SC can adjust the intensity of their team, and thus far, the first 2 plays of the second half, they look to me like they're a little more into the game and a little more spirited, a little quicker.
Brian Nielsen took down Patrick Bateau. I'd imagine, Coach, a school like USC this year, they had a nice bounce back year, went from 6 wins to 8. The feeling is the program is back heading in the right direction. But this could really be a deflating experience that you have to take with you through the entire offseason, spring practice, recruiting, everything.
Boy, you hit the nail right on the head. You take it all offseason with you. If it's a win, you use it as a springboard to the next year. If it's a loss, you just have to keep living with it, and you have to get through it. It's one of those things. That's why bowl games are important.
Another option pitch out of the shotgun, and there goes Mitchell. Shirt tackled by Grant Pearsall, or he might have been off to the races again. 21 yards on the run for Mitchell, who's coming off the best game of his career. He had 220 yards rushing in the regular season finale against UNLV.
David Bobo, 61, the right tackle. Watch him right there. Just watch him. He's going to jump around the defensive lineman, and then he'll pick off the linebacker for SC. That's the key block right there. That's what enables Mitchell to get the ball into that little seam and go ahead and make that run. The inside of the defense is getting shut off by the TCU offensive line, so there's not enough pursuit.
What a game Bobo has played. There's Mitchell banging his way across midfield. Good work again by that line for TCU. Dominating the line of scrimmage. Fusano, a linebacker, and Pearsall, a safety, had to make the stop on Basil Mitchell, who has rushed for 2,763 career yards at TCU, and his career's coming to an end. He's number 4 in TCU history in rushing, behind only Tony Jeffrey, their all-time leading rusher, Andre Davis, and Kenneth Davis. Second and short. Bateau forced to pitch it. Mitchell cuts it up for a first down. Here he goes again. Tackled from behind at the 15-yard line by Zeke Moreno, who saved the touchdown.
What happens when you're a defensive team trying to play against an offense, you've got to tackle well. And here USC has a chance in the seam to make a tackle, but they overrun it. Number 43 overruns it. Grant Pearsall, the safety man, he had a chance to make that play and just didn't get it done. As a result, the big play for TCU.
Mitchell helped off after the run, replaced by Tomlinson. 7th game of 100+ rushing yards this year. And how about this play by Bateau? All the way back across the field, turn it into a gain inside the 10-yard line. Shoved out near the 8 by Richard Cook, an 8-yard gain for Bateau.
You know, when you're a defensive team and you're getting ready to play an option team, what happens is you got to believe you're going to get some turnovers. You got to believe that at some point in the game the offense isn't going to execute perfectly and the ball's going to be on the ground. The quarterback's going to pitch it carelessly or whatever. TCU hasn't done that a time. They've handled the option to perfection today, and as a result, SC's defense has to be perfect every play, and you're not going to be perfect every play on defense.
TCU's been almost perfect today. They've been penalized once in the game. They have not turned it over, as you say, Coach. And they are gaining huge chunks of yardage on the ground now. Tomlinson, nice maneuver to his right. And he has another first down. It appears inside the 5-yard line, where he was stopped by Richard Cook.
And this is where when Dennis Franchione, when he's in at halftime, he's sitting there knowing he's leading 21-3. But in the back of his mind, he's wondering, is my team going to play as well in the second half? Can we keep this up? Because he knows that he's a decided underdog, but he's got to be thrilled inside with the way this team has come out in the second half, driven the length of the field, just like in the opening drive of the game, and just controlled the line of scrimmage, executed the offense to perfection, and shredded the SC defense.
Bryce Huffman, the move man. Tomlinson stacked up and driven back. The defense led by Chris Claiborne and Lawrence Larry. Interesting what Coach Franchione told us when we spoke with him earlier in the week about the task he inherited. A team that won 1 game last year. He said really the most important part of it was the attitude. I inherited a team that had very little confidence, very low self-esteem. So they had to build up some confidence and also some faith in this incoming staff. And so they had a lot of events, social events. They went bowling one night as a team. They went to a basketball game to watch Patrick Bateau play for Billy Tubbs. They went to a TCU baseball game and tailgated as a group. Football players usually don't get the tailgate because they're playing in football games. But they went and tailgated at a TCU baseball game, and you can see the closeness on this team as you watch them this week here in El Paso.
Lots of team building activities, and also the fact he brought most of his staff with him helped make the transition easier.
Timeout, TCU. Those TCU band members might be out of breath. They've been playing festive songs throughout this Norwest Sun Bowl, enjoying every minute of their school's performance. A great performance from this TCU Horned Frog football team. They have a chance to pad the lead. 2nd and goal at the 3. Tomlinson now the lone back behind Bateau. The option. Bateau keeps it and scores a touchdown for TCU.
For those football fans that believe you need to throw the ball effectively to win, this is an example of what you do with a great running game. The option game has totally dominated the USC Trojans thus far in this game. There's no question TCU knows that their offense is running at full speed today.
Patrick Bateau the touchdown, and Chris Kalaki is on to add the extra point. Sophomore from Austin, Texas, and he boots it right through. 2 touchdowns for Bateau, 2 for Mitchell. And TCU continues to dominate USC 28-3.
Of the Norwest Sun Bowl is sponsored by Norwest. Norwest to the nth degree. Volvo. Volvo reminds you to drive safely. And by Microsoft Web TV service. Web TV. Watch what's possible.
Back in El Paso, once again this year, the Sun Bowl Association has outdone itself in terms of hospitality. No matter who you talk to, anybody who's been to this game, they say the same thing over and over again. The hospitality here is unmatched.
It really is. It's such a community project, and the whole town gets in behind the game, and Jimmy Rogers and John Fulmer and everybody at the Sun Bowl here, they've just been terrific.
R.J. Soward bringing back Chris Kalaki's kickoff. He fumbled, and it's advanced by the Trojans. One of the few things that's gone right for USC today. Barry Jackson recovered the Soward fumble and ran it ahead across the 30-yard line out to the 34.
Well, that's one of the things that Paul Hackett certainly had fear in his heart right there. Your team is struggling at this point in time. You just don't want to turn the ball over. It's a good strip by TCU, but lucky for the SC Trojans that they got the ball back and have a chance now to mount a drive and get back into the rhythm of the game and get some execution going on offense.
Kyle Williams caused the fumble. Carson Palmer blitzed and sacked. Cam Hunt with the first sack of the game for TCU.
Well, TCU has really put an awful lot of heat on young Carson Palmer all day long, and number 72 Matt Welch is trying to block Cam Hunt, and it's just a little bit of a mismatch. Hunt just uses his speed, and I thought that Palmer got a little deep in the pocket and got really out of a protection area that he needed to be in. He really put Matt Welch, I think, at a disadvantage. Again, that's just inexperience. Carson Palmer is going to be a terrific player. You can see it when you watch him play. This guy has everything you want in your quarterback.
Cam Hunt, the senior from Katy, Texas, with a sack. He had 4 during the regular season. Nothing doing on the ground game as J.W. Wilson tripped up Chad Morton. Here's Mike Mayock.
Well, Sean, outstanding tailback Basil Mitchell aggravated a turf toe injury. He just told me he will be back. They're having way too much fun out there. Now, for USC, the news isn't as good. Ennis Davis, defensive tackle, out with a sprained knee. And strong safety Afoni Ohalate also out with an ankle.
There's Mitchell. Apparently not feeling any of the effects of that turf toe. How about Mike Mayock today? He still has great speed. He had it at Boston College, had it in the NFL and the CFL, but to get from the field to the roof of the press box, to have that back to the field in record time, it's very impressive performance.
He's the MVP today. There's no question about it. You know, Sean, we talked a lot about TCU's offense and their execution, and it's been outstanding. One of the things...
Timeout.
Ouch.
USC. That is their second timeout.
He got whacked.
Hennigan hit his hand right off the helmet of Carson Palmer.
One of the things that probably I've not highlighted enough is the TCU defense, particularly up front. They have really stymied SC's ability to run the football. And when you can't run the ball, it's harder to throw, particularly in SC's style of offense.
Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue and Mike Mayock. Today's game produced by Craig Silver, directed by Bob Fishman. We're pleased to be joined here in El Paso by the executive producer of CBS Sports, Terry Ewert. And it's uphill again for USC. 3rd down and 25. And the Trojans just burned a timeout. Palmer has to dance away from the rush. Throws on the run, caught by Bastianelli. He's popped out of bounds just short of a first down. At the 42, about 2 yards shy. Cody Slinkard hit him, a 23-yard gain, and we'll see what Paul Hackett does on 4th and 2.
Now, this is a nice job by Carson Palmer, staying alive in the pocket, scrambling around, moving around, and getting the ball to Mike Bastianelli. Bastianelli does a good job, but wide receivers need to stay alive for the quarterback once the play breaks down, the timing of the play. And here, Palmer scrambles, throws a good ball. Bastianelli makes a good reception right in the middle of traffic.
And now with the play clock running out, they're going for it on 4th down. 7 out of 13 this year on 4th downs with an empty backfield. Here comes the blitz. Palmer throws, caught by Soward with running room. And he got leveled at the 38-yard line of TCU by Kyle Williams. It was Williams who stripped Soward on the kickoff return and caused the Soward fumble. And then he greeted R.J. in TCU territory, the 38. But that's a conversion on 4th down, much needed for the Trojans.
Yeah, this is a great call by Paul Hackett. 4th down and that kind of yardage you'd expect a backfield. He comes out with no backs, spreads the TCU defense out, gets the ball to his best football player, R.J. Soward, who can do something with it. When you give that guy a little room, now he can make a play, and he just did.
He averages a touchdown every 6.5 times he touches the ball throughout his career. Chad Morton gets nothing. And that defensive line controlling the line of scrimmage. Joseph Phipps, Ray Lacey combining to bring down Morton.
One of the problems with SC's football team all year long has been the offensive line. Not that they don't play hard, because they do, but they've given up 38 sacks, and today they just have not been able to generate any kind of a consistent running game. And as a result, SC on 1st down, they want to run the ball, but they end up 2nd and 10. Now that really strains the signal caller. Paul Hackett and the coaches that are working on plays, Hugh Jackson, the offensive coordinator, they really have to strain now. It's harder.
2nd down and 10. Palmer time this time, and his throw is on target to Larry Parker, the senior from Bakersfield. And he has another 1st down for USC at the 23-yard line of TCU, a 16-yard game.
Larry Parker's made a couple really nice receptions this game, and this is another one. He's just working against man-to-man coverage, runs a nice inside route, acts like he's going to go deep, and then comes back and gets the ball from Palmer with a good catch.
USC in dire need of a touchdown here midway through the 3rd quarter. And Palmer's going to use another timeout, leaving them with just one. Carson Palmer has USC on the move, but they've burned 2 timeouts here. Palmer 3 for 3 this half for 59 yards. Another blitz. Palmer throws. Touchdown, USC. Billy Miller with the first Trojan touchdown of the afternoon.
This is really a nice job by Billy Miller working the seam route right down the middle. And Carson Palmer, this is why USC fans are so enthused about the future. He sits right in the pocket, throws a perfect strike, right on time, right on the target. Can't be executed any better than that. Billy Miller just works that inside seam. He's a big physical receiver at 6'4", 220 pounds. Does a good job.
And the extra point is good from Adam Abrams. So the Trojans have a touchdown. Miller, the senior from Westlake Village, California, where he was a neighbor of Terry and Andrea Donahue.
I knew you'd bring that up, and I can explain. So, you know, that last drive, if you're Paul Hackett and the SC coaching staff and the team at USC, the way they responded after that opening drive of TCU, they could have gone in the tank and really laid down in this football game, but they have come back with their own drive, and that is significant because now all of a sudden maybe you can get a little tempo. I know there's only a quarter and a half left to play, but lots of things happen in football in a quarter and a half.
Did you want to explain how Billy Miller was your neighbor and wound up at USC?
You know, if you've ever been fishing, sometimes big ones get away, you know, and he happens to be one of those big ones. There's Billy.
Capping the drive of 66 yards. Coming in 2 weeks on CBS. Join Dan Rather, Bob Simon, Biggie Mabry, Charlie Rose for 60 Minutes 2, the new Wednesday edition of a Sunday tradition starting January 13th. David Bell with the kickoff, taken by LaDainian Tomlinson. And he's knocked down shy of the 20 on a big hit, and a flag is thrown as well. Tangeray Clark made Tomlinson a little woozy at the 19-yard line. Tangeray can do that to you. And In fact, he did. Sunday, 12:30 Eastern Time, the NFL playoffs on CBS. It's wild card weekend, and New England and Jacksonville will be going head-to-head. Two teams really banged up with injuries. Drew Bledsoe will not play for New England. Mark Brunell may not play for Jacksonville. New England 3-0 all time against the Jaguars. And our coverage begins at noon Eastern Time Sunday with the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines. Holding penalty against TCU on the kickoff. And that'll bring them back inside the 10-yard line. Look at the numbers. Amazing total of rushing yards for TCU. And Basil Mitchell has a chance to set the Sun Bowl rushing record. He gets the call on first down. And he plows out to the 15-yard line. The Sun Bowl record for yards rushing by one player in a Sun Bowl game is 197 by Charles Alexander of LSU in 1977. That was against Stanford. And Mitchell is creeping up on that total now with 178 yards rushing.
Basil Mitchell certainly has had an outstanding day today. No question about it, with touchdown runs, and here takes a pitch and goes down the right sideline for the second touchdown.
Mitchell again. And another yard. It'll be third down and short. We tick down to 6 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Ryan Nielsen, Corey Dickerson, Chris Claiborne all on the stop on Mitchell.
Now, if you're over on that SC sideline, what you're thinking, if you're Paul Hackett, you're saying to your defense and to yourself, hey, just give me a stop here. Just get these guys slowed down, get them stopped so I can get the ball back in my offensive hands. I just scored on a nice drive. We can score again, but get these guys stopped on this critical third down.
Brings up third down.
What a way to close out his TCU career for Mitchell. Third down and 3. And Bateau slips down. He wasn't going to get there as Corey Dickerson had penetrated. So Paul Hackett does get that stop that he needed from his defense. And now the Horned Frogs will be punting from the end zone.
Penetration disrupts option football. SC gets good penetration up front by Corey Dickerson. He's the guy that gets into that penetration area, and that disrupts the timing of the option. Consequently, it's a good, solid defensive play by SC, and you can see they're going to have a chance to have good field position after this punt if everything goes as you would expect.
Huffman didn't get good flesh into the first punt of the day. This is his second. Nose up spiral to the near sideline. Bounces out of bounds at the 39. Good punt that time by Huffman. 49 yards and no return. He kept it away from R.J. Soward. I mentioned Huffman does everything on the football team. He's also a great baseball player. Second team All-American last year as a third baseman for the baseball Horned Frogs. Hit over 400 last year at 420. He was a 391 career hitter, and he's already been named to one or two preseason All-American teams for next year in collegiate baseball. Royce Huffman. Trojan fans making noise now, hoping their team can continue with the momentum. R.J. Soward handles the Palmer pass and dances into Frog territory at the 48-yard line. Reggie Hunt stopped him there, a 13-yard gain. Soward had 38 catches during the regular season. He missed the first game of the year. For academic reasons, Paul Hackett suspended him. When Paul Hackett arrived, he made it clear to the team that the academic part was going to be taken very seriously. And Soward didn't listen carefully enough to that speech, and he was suspended by Coach Hackett. Well, they need to respect your players quickly. Morton inside the 40-yard line. Very close to another first down. Again, Reggie Hunt, the safety, had to make the tackle.
And you can see a little quicker step in the SC offensive team all of a sudden. You know, that last touchdown, all of a sudden there's hope and there's a little more spirit on that squad right now. And back-to-back good, successful plays here. They're in a 2nd-and-1 situation, which is ideal for their offensive football team.
That was the longest rush by a USC player today, a 9-yard gain for Morton. 2nd and 1. Palmer going deep toward the end zone. Incomplete. Billy Miller and Greg Walls were jousting.
Well, there was certainly some contact between Greg Walls and Billy Miller. Miller's at the top of the screen. He's just going to run a streak route. He's just going to go deep and try to use his speed. But Walls did a good job staying in front, and then they just started battling for the ball. It was really good defensive play. Palmer does a great job. He really looked right first. He was going to go deep down the right sideline, then came all the way across the field and found Miller on the left. It was a good job by him.
Ray Lacey gave Palmer a pop after he delivered the ball. Deep handoff to Morton. And he is tripped down immediately by LeVar Veal, the sophomore from San Antonio.
If this game continues to go as it has thus far, USC is going to look back on it and they're going to say two things. One, we couldn't stop the option play, but two, we couldn't run the ball against the 8-man front that TCU has put up there today against their offensive team. Those are the two factors that have really affected the game thus far. The inability of SC to stop the option and the inability to rush the football.
Flag down on the last play, a personal foul against TCU, thrown by the official with whom Dennis Franchione is now conferring. The side judge Milton Hagens. They're still talking about it. A couple of penalties here in the second half have been costly to TCU. They committed just one in the first half when they played virtually flawless football.
The play, personal foul on the defense, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, first down.
Just when they had USC facing a long yardage situation to convert, the penalty gives the Trojans a first down, well into TCU territory now at the 29-yard line. Carson Palmer, the only other true freshman ever to start at quarterback for USC. Rob Johnson now in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills. And Rob's dad, Bob Johnson, has been Carson's personal quarterback coach. Thrown into traffic and incomplete. Coach Johnson wouldn't have liked that decision. Andre Bruce broke it up. He was looking for Mike Bastianelli.
Well, young quarterbacks learn as they go, and on this particular play, Carson Palmer just throws into double coverage. It was excellent coverage. They really have Bastianelli bracketed there. TCU played this route perfectly, and it's just a really good defensive effort, and Palmer just shouldn't have let that ball go. He knows it too.
Second down and 10. 3:14 left, third quarter. USC trying to come from way back and get back into this game. Morton couldn't get inside. He was buried by Shannon Brazil, the middle linebacker. Sophomore from Louisville, Texas, very highly recruited out of high school. And coaches say he's a little undersized, actually about 5'9", but he can pack a wallop as he did on that play.
Chad Morton tried to make a cut, and he just couldn't quite get his footing. Rome Douglas, the big offensive lineman who was pulling on the play, came out of his shoe. He ran right out of his Astro shoe.
Another third down. 3rd and 8. 1 out of 6 and 3rd and 8 plus today. A fade, and Sauer couldn't catch it. He was covered by Greg Walls. He had a chance, but he couldn't haul it in. And now the 4th down decision faces Coach Haggett.
It looked to me on this play that R.J. Sauer really didn't have his hands in proper position. It looked like this was a catchable ball. It's pretty well thrown. It's outside where you want it. You want the ball outside, maybe a little bit overthrown, but it looked to me like those hands just separated there.
They're going to go for it on 4th down. They're 1 for 1 on 4th down today, so 8 for 14 for the season. This is 4th and 8 with 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Trying to keep momentum on their side, the Trojans, and that is caught by Larry Parker inside the 5-yard line with a first down. Reggie Hunt prevented the touchdown. Ball came out, but the officials ruled Parker down at the 3 after a gain of 19.
Well, if there's one Trojan on offense that has really stood out today, Larry Parker's had a good day for SC. He's made a lot of key catches and has really competed. He runs an inside slant route. He acts like he's going to go outside, uses a real nice separation technique to get away from TCU defensive back. The ball comes loose, but the ground can't cause a fumble. Good call by the official.
4 catches for 104 yards for Parker. Chad Morton alone back. 2 tight ends on the field for USC. Another timeout call. TCU called this timeout. We'll return to El Paso after this. Trying to engineer a USC comeback. We'll close the gap to 18 points and a chance to draw nearer still with 1st and goal at the 3 of TCU following a Horned Frog timeout. The Frogs had 13 men on the field and decided to call the timeout since that is clearly against the rules. Petros Papadakis, the short yardage specialist, lined up in the eye behind Marvin Powell III. Papadakis driving toward the goal line. He was stopped just short by Curtis Fuller.
They bring Papadakis in. He's a little stronger back than Chad Morton. Bigger, more physical, 215, 220-pound running back that they like to bring in down by the goal line. His father, John, was a great linebacker at SC, and I remember watching him play, and he's a terrific player.
Now owns the family restaurant in San Pedro, California. Greek cuisine, the specialty. There's Papadakis again into the end zone for a touchdown. And here come the Trojans.
You know, it kind of reminds you of the game the other night, Kansas State and Purdue. You know, all of a sudden Kansas State woke up and started playing like they're capable of, and all of a sudden you feel the momentum here clearly shifting in favor of USC.
We're going to go for 2. With the score right now 28-16 after the Papadakis touchdown. Petros is a real character, so colorful in fact, well spoken that he has a weekly spot on a Southern California sports radio program. USC 1 for 1 when going for 2 this year. They're trying to get within 10 points with a conversion here. Down 12 right now. Palmer to the back of the end zone, too high, looking for Billy Miller. And Andre Bruce had the coverage, so it remains 28-16 in favor of the Horned Frogs with 1:34 remaining in the third.
SC moves Carson Palmer out, rolls him out to the right to get away from pressure a little bit. They want to take some of the heat off him. He tries to get the ball in there, but it's just overthrown. Miller's a big target at 6'4", but the ball was just high.
Petros Papadakis with the touchdown. This is his specialty. He's been brought in goal line and short yardage situations all season long. He also had a huge game against Cal when Chad Morton was injured. Papadakis stepped in, had 118 yards on 13 carries. He originally started his career at Cal and transferred before his first season ever actually began.
Which is really unusual, to transfer within the conference. His brother Tasso also played at SC. He was a linebacker. Career got cut a little bit short because of a knee injury, but he was an outstanding player as well. The bloodlines in the family run deep. They're all Trojans and they're all athletic.
Well, David Bell will kick off to Reggie Hunt and LaDainian Tomlinson.
Well, that was a big two-point conversion there, Sean, or lack of two-point conversion. That was huge. SC, if they converted there, had a chance to pull within 10, and they're certainly still capable of winning this game, no question about that.
Tomlinson pulled down, apparently not by the face mask. From our vantage point, it looked like it might have been, but it must have been the shirt up around the shoulder pads. Jason Steen made the tackle on Tomlinson.
Tomlinson found a little crack in the coverage of USC here. He almost breaks this for a long touchdown return, but finally he's yanked from behind. But there was a little seam there that he tried to hit. He just didn't quite burst through there quite fast enough.
File away the fact that each team has just 1 timeout remaining. That could factor in a bit later on. From the 21-yard line. First down. Mitchell straight ahead as he continues his approach toward the Sun Bowl single-game rushing record. Today's NASDAQ Amex Scholar Athlete of the game is Jason Elliott, the TCU tight end. NASDAQ Amex's commitment to the investment in our future is shown today by the donation of $1,000 to TCU's General Scholarship Fund. What a student he is. 3.9
4.5 in international finance, and he's ringing up the money for that university, a fast food chain. Donated a $10,000 scholarship to TCU in Ilian's name. He's a national scholar athlete. Bateau trying to run away from Claiborne. Claiborne managed to run him out with help from Zeke Marino. Out of bounds at the 23-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down and 8 with 35 seconds left in the third.
And look for a moment that Patrick Bateau would break the containment of the SC defense, but SC did an outstanding job. Again, the mobility of a guy like Chris Claiborne, that really helps you. Zeke Marino, those guys can run, and so they can track that quarterback down. They certainly did on that play.
Well, the defense looks much more into it here for USC in the second half than it did in the first half. Williams lined up in front of Mitchell in the eye. Paul Hackett said a big key in the first half. TCU converting with running plays on 3rd down. They go to the pass here, and it's incomplete. Flag down on the play. Looked like a holding penalty against Michael Keithley as he took down Ryan Nielsen. And the Trojans will turn that one down and force the punt. Pass was intended for Lance Williams. There's Keithley, who's been out of action for the last 2 games of the regular season with a back problem, but he's a fine offensive tackle. 2nd team all WAC this year from Glen Rose, Texas, a sophomore.
I think if we watch the left tackle, we're going to see the infraction. He blocks down, and once you get that body position, the takedown's going to occur right there. It's a good call by the official. You can't get that kind of body position. The referee will call that every time on you.
Here's Royce Huffman to punt. His last one a beauty, 49 yards and went out of bounds. For the last punt they had Soward back deep. Now it's Larry Parker.
TCU has done a good job on their special teams today because SC has some outstanding return personnel.
And they've done a good job blocking kicks this year, and they came after that one. And Huffman just did get it off. And eventually it took a TCU bounce and roll. Frank Carter almost blocked the punt. And it winds up as a 41-yard punt with no return, and the Trojans take over at their own 36 with 17 seconds left in the quarter.
SC came with a full-out block, and Frank Carter, he's the inside player. He's got to lay out and take that ball right off the foot. He came awfully close.
How did he lay out? Well, my question.
You know, he just probably was going to go with his left hand and try to take that ball out instead of across it. You have to be careful when you're going after that punt. You got to make sure you're hitting the spot where the guy's going to kick the ball from, and he probably just geometrically didn't see the point.
First and 10 from the 36. Deep drop by Palmer. That pass geometrically on target to Billy Miller. And he's down to the 35-yard line of TCU. Momentum clearly has shifted in this one. That's a 29-yard gain on the pass play to Miller.
And what's so different on this particular pass, Carson Palmer has plenty of time. The SC offensive line really did a nice job protecting their quarterback so that he could throw this deep sideline route to Billy Miller.
Nice hesitation move there by Miller. He got about 7 or 8 additional yards. That's going to be the final play of the third quarter. USC creeping back into it at the end of 3. TCU 28, USC 16. We'll return to the Northwest Sun Bowl after this message and a word from your local station. Back in El Paso for the fourth quarter. USC outscored TCU by 6 in the third to get back into the game. Now down by 12. And on the move at the 35-yard line of the Horned Frogs. First and 10. Carson Palmer, the true freshman. It's R.J. Soward. That's 15 more down to the 20. He was upended by Reggie Hunt. And, Coach, you get the sense if the Trojans played this way in the first half, the score would be a lot different right now.
Well, there's no question the momentum is clearly now shifted to SC. They have a little jump in their step, if you will. They're moving faster on offense. They've adjusted their throwing game a little bit. They've gone to some short 3-step drops, getting the ball quicker to the receivers, and that's helping their offense right now. Palmer is getting hot all of a sudden with some of these three-step drop passes.
Hand off to Morton, trying to follow his blocks. And Reggie Hunt took him down after a short gain. USC has dominated its opponents in the fourth quarter this year. Look at that margin, 109-43.
And you know, Paul Hackett knows that coming into the game, so one of the things that he was able to do throughout this whole contest was probably internally and also in his players' heads to stay calm, because hey, if we're just kind of close in the fourth quarter has belonged to us all year long. We just have to do it one more time.
Short drop by Palmer. Now he's flushed and he is sacked back at the 27-yard line by Aaron Schobel.
This was one of those three-step drops that I just referred to, and it's a good call by the SC coaching staff, but the receiver is covered, and the ball has just got to get released. And Schobel, number 14, he's the guy. The ball now needs to go. It needs to go. When you pull it back down on a three-step drop, you're not going to have the protection. As a result, you give up the sack.
Schobel left after getting the sack. He had a team leading 7.5 sacks during the regular season. And was second-team All-WAC, sophomore from Columbus, Texas. Deep drop by Palmer on 3rd and long, and he's sacked again. Sean Worthen and London Dunlap combining on the sack. There was Worthen who had the primary hit.
First of all, you gotta credit the TCU coverage. They're in a zone defense. They are not going to give up a big play. They're dropping. They've got a robber in the middle, and the quarterback Carson Palmer had nowhere to go. You can look. They've got deep guys here. They've got a robber in the middle there. They've got this thing pretty well covered, so you have to give them credit. And the offensive line just couldn't protect it long enough.
Adam Abrams will try a 46-yard field goal as long as 49. That's plenty long enough, and that is good. So the Trojans draw nearer. They're now down by 9. And still a long way to go. 12.5 minutes remaining for the Northwest Sun Bowl. The Trojans have marched back into the game. Now down by 9, 12.5 minutes left. Terry, I want to take you back to Paul Hackett's decision to go for 2 when they scored the touchdown late in the third quarter, minute 34 to go. They were down 12 at the time. Made the decision to go for 2. If they kick the extra point, they're down 11. Now you have this field goal, they're down 8. They were within a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. There was a big difference there between 11 and 12, it seems to me. You can understand why you'd want it to be 10. But you can go either way on that decision.
You really can. You can go either way. And the chart says that you ought to go for good hit there by SC special teams, but the chart says you ought to go for 2 points. But I honestly believe you kick that ball and you take the game into the fourth quarter, because you don't know how many other scoring opportunities are going to be. And I learned from Paul Brown indirectly that you kick.
Well, you've been saying it all year, and it seems like every week we see it come to be true, that late in the game, coaches wish they had that 1 point they elected not to go for earlier in the game.
Yeah, because if you look at the score here now, and SC's in a much more difficult position than they could have been if they had 1 more point on that scoreboard. Then they go for 2 to win the game.
Right. It was Henry Wallace who put the big hit on Tomlinson in the kickoff return. Now it's Mitchell taking the pitch. And this game has been a tale of 2 halves, and the cheerleaders have been much busier in the second half for USC. Sultan Abdul Malik and Ryan Nielsen combined to stop this option play.
The TCU, the last series, had gotten away from the option, and I did expect them to come back to the option play. They did, but it's played very, very well by USC this particular time. The option game is what won the first half for TCU. They need to stay with that option game, despite the fact that that play was well played in defense. They need to get back to it throughout the fourth quarter.
Bateau looking to throw. Now he's run out of bounds, and there's a late flag thrown by the referee in the offensive backfield. Mike Pollard chased Bateau out of bounds. And it's another holding call against the Horned Frogs, and we'll see if the Trojans take it. If they turned it down, it would be 3rd down and about 8.
I'm not sure they'll take this. They very well might decline this and go ahead, and if it's 3rd and 8, they'll take the call probably.
Claiborne looking to the sideline for some help. They are going to take the penalty. seemed that Mitchell was a cinch for the Sun Bowl rushing record, but he's had a tough time.
After the opening drive of the second half by TCU's offense, SC's defense has stepped up, and they've come back and shut down the TCU offense. Bill Young and his coaching staff on defense have made some good adjustments, slowed down some of that overrunning linebacker, got that secondary up there a little quicker. They've adjusted to the flow of the game.
Now a very tough spot for this rushing offense. 2nd and 22. Again, they go out of the shotgun. They've run a number of running plays out of the shotgun today. With Mitchell alongside Bateau. And it's Bateau to the 4-yard line. Stopped by Mark Mattock.
I think SC diagnosed that play. Earlier in the game, TCU had spread them out in the shotgun formation, run the quarterback draw, did it again to him, and then all of a sudden SC says, hey, they're spreading us out. Watch the quarterback draw, and sure enough, here it is. Patrick Bateau tries to run the draw. SC's defense converges and makes the stop.
Antoine Simmons coming on the corner blitz, along with Mattock on the tackle. Danian Tomlinson and Lance Williams in the backfield. Behind Bateau, it's a draw play. And Tomlinson broke out of the tackle to Brian Nielsen, but he still went down, smothered by Mattock. At the 5, Royce Huffman's going to have to punt out of the back of the end zone into a bit of a breeze here.
When Mr. Momentum starts to swing, it swings, and you're on the sideline, and if you're Dennis Francione, you feel it. You know it's going. And if you're Paul Hackett, you know it's finally swung your way, and it's unbelievable the psychology of the game.
USC has blocked 4 punts, 2 of them for touchdowns. They've also blocked 4 field goals. Sean Slocum is the special teams coach. Huffman got it off under the circumstances, a decent punt. Larry Parker caught it at the 42, retreats a bit, and is still on his feet, but he lost ground on the return. Boy, it looked like there was a clip there, and there is a flag down at the 48-yard line. 37-yard punt, a return of -6. And it might be worse than that for the Trojans after the illegal block penalty is assessed.
Larry Parker on that punt return, he really needs to get that ball up the field as quick as he can.
They were going to have great field position around the 40-yard line. Instead, they'll be back inside their own 45.
On the return, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
May have been Dalen McCutcheon, number 1, who makes the block in the back. It's a good call by the official. I mean, Dalen McCutcheon's hustling there, trying to make a play, trying to do something positive for his team, but you can't block in the back.
10:03 remaining in El Paso. Welcome back to the Norwest Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. TCU hanging on now, leading by 9. But at one point it was 28-3. 10:03 remaining, each team with 1 timeout left. And Carson Palmer's had a career day. 16 of 25, 280 yards. The passing yardage total is single game best. He's in trouble and sacked again. London Dunlap with the 4th sack for the Horned Frogs. The junior from Houston, Texas. A junior college transfer from Kilgore. Here's the scoring summary. TCU scored on each of its first 3 possessions. Mitchell with 2 touchdown runs. The second from 60 yards away. Patrick Bateau scored from 8 yards out. Then the Abrams field goal made it 21-3. That was the score at the half. Bateau scored early in the 3rd quarter. It was 28-3, and then the comeback began. Billy Miller, a 23-yard touchdown reception. Papadakis, a 1-yard run. Abrams, the field goal. And momentum is on the side of the Trojans. But it's Palmer in trouble again and sacked again by Ray Lacy. And there is a flag down on the play in the offensive backfield. It was a penalty-free first half, relatively speaking, but here in the second half we've seen the Hankies with regularity.
Ray Lacy comes with an arm under technique. It's a good call by the official. There's no question. Ken Bowen, number 74, has a clamp on Lacy. I mean, he wrestled him down.
I would think they would turn that down since they wound up with a sack on the play. Forced 3rd down and long.
Penalty is declined. 3rd down.
Good call there, Sean. There you go. That's one of that gray areas. You know, you take them back or you turn it down. And
well, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn in a blizzard every now and then. 9:10 remaining. And TCU really needs a defensive stand right here because the offense has been almost totally shut down here in the second half since that first possession. Wide receiver screen, Soward, stop for a loss, and credit the defense. A terrific series for them when TCU really needed them to rise up. Ray Lacey involved in the play with Andre Bruce in on the tackle.
No question about it. That was really a great series for the TCU defense. They rose to the occasion. All the momentum in USC's corner. Looks like they're going to go and move the ball again. The defense rises up and gets them shut down.
We go back to that poor decision on the punt return by Parker and the silly penalty by McCutcheon on the obvious clip. And a booming punt that goes into the end zone off the foot of Mike McGillivray. 66-yard punt, the longest of his career. And the Horned Frogs will begin on offense from their own 20, leading by 9 with 8:16 remaining in El Paso. Well, for longtime followers of USC football, it must be very unsettling to look at the game summary and see minus 11 yards rushing. Gone are the days, so at least for today, of student body left and right with great success.
No question. You look at that stat right there, and that's the one that really jumps out. TCU 181 yards, USC minus 11, and that's been kind of the game story.
Carson Palmer's helped keep them in it with the best passing day of his career. Basil Mitchell seemed a lock for the Sun Bowl rushing record, but the last 4 times he's carried the ball, a combined yardage total of 0. So he's still stuck on 184 yards. 13 shy of the Sun Bowl record, and it's Tomlinson in the game at the moment. LaDainian went ahead out to the 27-yard line. Zeke Moreno and Chris Claiborne made the tackle.
You know, Sean, you mentioned earlier about timeouts being used. When you start getting into the 8-minute mark as a head coach, you're looking on the sideline, you're always glancing at the clock, you can't help yourself, and you're wondering, when can I stop the clock, when do I use my timeouts? And the fact that you use them early in a half really disrupts your psychology and your strategy, if you will.
Yes, down by 2 scores. The timeout's a factor. That decision again to go for the 2 instead of the 1. If they had that extra point, they'd be within 8 had they kicked. And it'd be a 1-score game, conceivably. Tomlinson stopped by Claiborne. And it's a chance for us to remind you about our big NCAA basketball doubleheader Saturday, beginning at 2 Eastern time with Clemson and North Carolina. Hope you'll be with Billy Packer and me for that. And then we'll bring you the battle between Louisville and Michigan State from East Lansing. The Spartans ranked number 13 this week, led by Mateen Cleaves, the Big Ten Player of the Year last year. Tom Izzo, the National Coach of the Year, and they have that program up and running on all cylinders. Up and over goes Tomlinson for the first down. Coaches told us that that's one of his specialties. He has tremendous leaping ability, and they'll use him in goal line and short yardage situations to go over the top. He got the first down.
Well, it's a great leap by Tomlinson. It's a dangerous play. Anytime you're exchanging this ball and the tailback's going to go airborne like that, the ball can get stripped. It's an effective play, but dangerous. And look at the vertical jump and a great individual effort by Tomlinson going over the top.
28 yards while spelling Mitchell. What a duo they are. Tomlinson will be back. He's a sophomore from Waco. Well, Tomlinson and Mitchell, second-team all-WAC selections. And a flag down on the play.
Illegal substitution on the offense. 5-yard penalty.
They were late getting the player out of the game. They had 12 guys in the huddle for too long. That's what happened on the play. You can only, when the substitute comes in, you have 11 guys in the huddle. When the 12th player comes in, the substitute gets in, the other guy has to get out, and they were in that huddle.
TCU coaches didn't like it. There's the final score from the Liberty Bowl. Tulane caps the undefeated season. Congratulations to all concerned. And congratulations to the players, because most especially because there's so much attention on Tommy Bowden. He did a tremendous job. Left for Clemson before the bowl game, replaced by Chris Selfo, the former Georgia assistant. There's some turmoil when Tommy Bowden left. A lot of the players wanted the assistant coach, Rich Rodriguez, to get the job. He did not. Chris Selfo, who we both know and admire greatly from his work with Jim Donnan, got the job, but they stayed together as a team and finished the job on this season.
Boy, I concur 100% down the line. I really do. And what a great way for Chris to start his career.
Yep.
I mean, when you start with a bowl victory, all of a sudden the players say, hey, we got us a coach, you know, and that helps because there's no question the players were disappointed that Coach Bowden left.
Sure. Well, they should be happy. They have a good man and a good coach coming in there, Chris Selfo, and obviously he and the staff and players performed well in Memphis today. Some confusion among the officiating crew. It's been a very well officiated game by this Big East group. The play clock's running down again. Dennis Franchione is getting increasingly agitated with the officials.
Well, I think that last penalty when they had 12 in the huddle, I don't think that TCU was trying to disguise a formation or a cover. They were just late getting out of the huddle. Sometimes confusion does start, and that kind of set Dennis off, and now he's going again.
And there's another flag down. It might be for unsportsmanlike conduct on the sideline.
You know, this is critical if that happened.
And it's inexcusable. It's a big penalty, the 5-yard walk-off, because the way they play football. There's a huge difference between 1st and 10 and 1st and 15 when you're running on virtually every play and you have difficulty in throwing. But if somebody over there said something and got this other flag thrown, they've really done their squad a huge disservice.
You know, I think in those kind of situations, I think the officials have got to understand the pressure on coaches, and I think they've got to just sometimes not have rabbit ears and let some of that stuff bounce off. But sometimes the coaches have got to understand too that the officials have got to officiate, and I never felt like that when I was coaching. I didn't think they should officiate. I thought I should officiate, but you know, now that I'm here, it's different.
Please reset the game clock. 25 seconds.
How about the other flag that they threw? The microphone cut out, so the timekeeper might not have been able to understand the instructions from the referee, Dennis Hennigan. The stadium clock still shows 6:08 right now. We have it fixed on our CBS clock, but the stadium clock is a little slower in adjusting. But Dennis's emotions change rapidly over there. Well, let's see if Mike Mayock can enlighten us, as he always does. Michael?
Sean, it was an illegal substitution. 12 men in the huddle. They penalized 5 yards, put the time back on the clock, and there was also a warning to the TCU sidelines.
Thank you. Well, then that would at least partially explain the second flag. You don't really need to throw the flag to warn the sideline, because they didn't walk off any yardage after throwing the second flag.
They may have thrown the flag to stop play to reset the clock. But the good thing is, I do agree with you, Sean. This has really been a well officiated game.
Until now, though, let's go. You know, after a while, let's reset the clock, get the teams lined up, and let's go.
They can't control the clock now. The clock guy's got to get the clock fixed.
And this has been a very long delay.
I do agree it's time to play ball, as they say.
Oh boy, if Coach Haggett thought the game took a long time to get here, this play is taking a long time to get here. Basil Mitchell back in at tailback. Still needing 13 yards to tie the Sun Bowl single game rushing record. They spread the field with 4 receivers. So many different looks given on offense by TCU in each game of plays. And on 1st and 15, they're content to run Mitchell straight ahead. And they'll get the game clock back under 6 minutes. Grant Pearsall made the stop. Sultan Abdul Malik also in on the stop. They lean heavily on the run. And we spoke with Dan Dodd, the offensive coordinator. He said, when we get the program and the talent that we want, ideally we'll be a top 20 rushing team in the nation. We'd like to be a high completion passing team with big plays off play action. So they have basically what they want to be down the road in place right now, not quite the efficiency in the passing game.
And they have a good plan for how they want to run offense.
Bateau, great running ability, and he's very close to the first down. Out at the 39, about 1.5 yards short of the first down. Claiborne and Cook.
This is a great play by Patrick Bateau, not only because he starts to take the option one way, sees it bottled up, then uses his great athleticism, but watch him here at the end of the run. He has the presence of mind to keep the ball on the playing field. He knows that the clock is his ally, the enemy of SC, and he does a great job of keeping the clock running.
Big rushing day for Bateau. And a very big third down play here at USC in possession of only one timeout. And whistle stopped the play just as Bateau was taking the snap on third down and 1.5 yards.
Now, this is not what TCU wanted. They wanted to take the clock all the way down to the bottom, but be sure and snap it.
Timeout. TCU. There's their final timeout of the half.
Well, it's better in this instance for Coach Franchione than taking the penalty, as this is a critical third down play when we come back. Huge third down play. Still 4.5 minutes left, Terry, but only one timeout for USC, and TCU converts. They're going to run a lot more time off the clock.
No question. This is the game for USC in my mind. If they can get them stopped, get the ball back, they're still alive.
Tomlinson lined up as the tailback. Bateau keeps it. Bateau first down and much more. Out of bounds at the 48-yard line.
Well, credit TCU's offensive team. They came to the dance with the option play, and they're running the option on the biggest play of the game. Patrick Bateau spins around, comes down the line of scrimmage, keeps the ball. It's really a good, sound call by Coach Franchione. He knew he wanted his quarterback to keep that ball. He designed his blocking to enable that quarterback probably to keep the football.
And a career high 94 yards rushing now for Bateau. He has a chance for a 100-yard game. Movement along the defensive line. USC will be penalized as Shamsuddin Abdul Shahid jumped across the line of scrimmage a little bit early.
John, we talked about 240 yards as kind of being the magical number that the TCU coaching staff and players felt if they could get that, and they surely have gotten that today. SC trying to get off the ball, just jumped a little bit early on that particular penalty. But I think you just have to credit the TCU coaching staff and the offensive line. They came in with a good plan, and so far they've been able to execute it. The game's not over, but they certainly have got the rushing yardage that they wanted.
And that number, part of our CBS Sportsline stat of the game. For complete college football coverage, go to cbs.sportsline.com.
I look at the minus 11 yards rushing for USC, and that's one of the things Coach Hackett is going to really address in the offseason in recruiting. He wants to get more linemen, bigger, more physical players in the program so he can run that football better.
Tomlinson tackled by Ryan Nielsen. It's obvious that Dennis Franchione is an excellent coach. I think he's one of those coaches, Terry's had a lot of success everywhere he's been that very few people around the country know about. He has been at schools that don't get a lot of media exposure nationally in smaller media markets around the country. He's won a lot of games, and maybe he's at the place now where he can get some well-deserved recognition nationally.
I don't think there's any question. The TCU people are thrilled and excited about him. They really are grateful they have him.
Bateau made a smart play. Didn't want to risk getting walloped and coughing up the football, so he just went down, stayed in bounds. Ryan Nielsen covered him, but that'll get the clock under 3 minutes with third down upcoming for the Horned Frogs. It'll be third down and 6. Dennis Franchione, 47-year-old Kansas native. He's coached at Southwestern of Kansas, Pittsburgh State of Kansas, Southwest Texas State, New Mexico, and now TCU. And he's had success everywhere he's been. He won 119 games in his career. Bateau down short of a first down. 2.5 minutes remaining, and for now USC decides not to use its last time out. I thought they might
on defense, Coach, because as you say, when you're on offense, you can do things to stop the clock.
Yeah, I probably would have used my last time out there. It may be a moot point, but the reality is TCU will run this clock all the way down and either take a penalty and punt the ball. 5 yards here doesn't hurt your punt team a lick, or call timeout right before the clock expires, the 25-second clock expires.
And they'll
take the penalty.
Clock run down and take the penalty.
Put their punt team in and punt the ball.
Game on the offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
1:57 left, and USC needs 2 scores with 1 timeout with which to work. And here comes Royce Huffman. Talk about all the blocks for USC special teams this year. If they ever needed one, now's the time. They've blocked 4 punts. They have Larry Parker back deep. Huffman just wants to get this one off.
Yeah, that's all TCU's thinking about right now. Just get the punt off, and SC's coming with a maximum block, and they're going to try to lay out and get this ball and pick it off the punter's foot.
Snap from midfield. They almost blocked it. There's pressure right up the middle from Darnell Lacey, and Parker made a fair catch at the 12-yard line.
Boy, they almost did block it, Sean, and that was a real good attempt by SC's punt block team to turn this game around in an instant. And it's a good job by TCU getting it off, but they come right up the middle with the pressure. They turn a guy loose, and he almost gets there and gets that block.
1:50 remaining. TCU seems on its way to its first bowl victory in 40 years. The sun is about to set on the 65th Sun Bowl. It's also about to set on the TCU bowl victory drought. Their last bowl victory back in the 57 Cotton Bowl. They're less than 2 minutes away from winning the Sun Bowl, and Palmer is sacked. And they're going to say he was just out of the end zone. My goodness, it looked from here as if it was going to be a safety when London Dunlap got him, and you couldn't put that ball any closer to the goal line without it being in the end zone.
Well, London Dunlap, he's the one with the pressure. He's number 55. He's working. The offensive line actually gives Carson Palmer plenty of time to get rid of this ball. Again, it's great coverage by the TCU secondary. Credit that with the secondary.
I think it's a good placement of the ball by the officials, too, because he was driven back into the end zone. But boy, this is close to it being a safety. They showed the replay on the screen here, and the TCU fans are booing.
Well, that's normal. You'd expect that, right?
Yes, you would. But that was a very close call. And they're very fortunate. It's just amazing how it worked out that ball was a fraction of an inch from the goal line.
Carson Palmer has had a great day for a true freshman quarterback, and I promise you he'll have a lot of 300-yard passing days as a common occurrence as his career progresses. Here he needs to fight the ball forward. He can't retreat like this. That's just inexperience. It just hasn't been there enough times, and he just needs, when everything breaks down on him like that, just get the ball up the field and live to fight one more play.
You mentioned Bob Johnson, the father of Rob, who's a private quarterback tutor, who's worked with a lot of quarterbacks. He's worked with Carson Palmer, but you have to think Carson's really going to benefit from working with Paul Hackett, who was renowned as a quarterback guru at the collegiate and professional level.
No question. He's coached a lot of good ones in his time, and he'll get this guy developed, too.
They tried to hit Soward with the pass, and Greg Walls broke it up. They'll bring up 3rd down and 22. There's Ken O'Brien, who's the quarterback's coach for USC, the former New York Jet, who was coaching at UC Davis, Coach Hackett's alma mater, and joined Paul Hackett this year at USC. Ken, after playing, was a sportscaster for a while, and then decided he wanted to get into coaching.
I think Ken will do a real good job with Carson Palmer, too. You know, when you have a guy who's played the game, experienced all the blitzes and all the pressure and all that, it helps a young quarterback.
And this pass thrown into double coverage, deflected and broken up. Reggie Hunt and Greg Walls made a fine play on Larry Parker. And the Trojans are going to punt rather than turn the ball over on downs an inch from the goal line. They've decided to surrender here, it seems, unless they're going to run some sort of a fake. delivery on the back line of the end zone. Why bother to punt?
You know, I understand this call. I really do. You know, you're in a situation where you're 2 scores down. If you're 1 score down, you're not punting. You know, it's not even a discussion. But you're 2 scores down. The ball is at the 6-inch line, whatever it is. You're probably going to get beat as it is, but you don't want to make it any worse than it's already been. You know,
I would offer that perhaps Coach Franchione might have his quarterback take a knee too and not run it up.
Perhaps, yeah.
So you're not risking the score being any worse. Perhaps. Then you at least give yourself a flicker of hope to try to miraculous comeback.
Yeah, to win the game. And I think you make a very valid point, you know.
Well, Dennis Franchione, in his first year at TCU, not only had a major turnaround, one of the best in the country this year, surpassed only by Louisville's 6-win improvement over a year ago. But he's going to win a bowl game in his first year there, their first since 1957.
This is a huge win for the TCU program. They've done very well in recruiting. Coach Franchione told us that he's already had several commitments from real fine players. This is an awfully big win for him and the future of TCU.
And a big win for the WAC, a league that is being divided. Many said one reason the Sun Bowl committee selected TCU, they stayed loyal to the WAC. There's some of the other teams leaving the WAC, like Wyoming, Colorado State, that have better records, didn't go to a bowl game. They weren't selected for this game. The El Paso people might have wanted to make a statement. Joyce Feinberg is the executive director of this game. We thank her and her staff for their incredible hospitality again. Clyde Scott, the president of the Sun Bowl Association. But it's also vindication of all those people on the Sun Bowl Association committee who picked TCU. They were a deserving bowl team based on what we saw today.
No question.
And the final seconds are ticking off on a great moment for TCU football. Dennis Franchione, his wife Kim, celebrating. Many of the Trojans sprinting immediately off the field without offering congratulations to the Horned Frogs. R.J. Soward, the first down the tunnel. And Mike Mayock's down to the field with the very happy coach.
Yeah, he is very happy. And, Coach, you told us the other day at the luncheon that you thought the kids really believed that they were going to come out here and beat up on USC. Talk to me.
Well, we did believe. We may have been the only ones in the nation, but we did believe we could beat them. I don't know if beat up on them is the right way to put it, but we thought we could win the game, and we did. The kids did a great job.
New coach in the program, 1 win last year. You come in and all of a sudden it's 7. Tell me about the goal that your seniors set for this season.
Well, one of them was to go to a bowl game and win. And that was big, I think, because that was our purpose and our mission from the day where we received this opportunity. And I've had it go the other way where you didn't have the mission to go win, and we did have that.
Coach, last question. You make your living running the football. Did you think you could come out and dominate it the way you did today?
Well, I don't know if dominate was ever in my thought.
Come on, Coach.
But I did think we could run the ball and we could run the option and we could do some things. And we had to do it what got us here.
Coach, congratulations. Enjoy it with these guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be back for the awards ceremony. We'll put the finishing touches on the 65th annual Northwest Sun Bowl from El Paso, Texas. The final score, TCU 28 and USC 19.